Chapter 619. Originally, I thought that after Priest Corpse's bones were completely refined, the cold power inside his body might be able to break through the bottleneck. But I didn't think that there would be no change at all. Lu Kuan was somewhat unwilling to accept this, but there was nothing he could do. One had to know that for an ordinary cultivator in the middle core formation stage, even if they had reached the peak of the middle core formation stage, it would still be extremely difficult for them to break through to the middle core formation stage. This bottleneck could either never be broken through for the rest of their lives, or it could be broken through a series of auxiliary methods. And these auxiliary methods, no matter if it was some kind of precious pill, secret magic, or other methods, all required a certain amount of luck to obtain. Even ordinary human cultivators were like this, not to mention a mid-level bronze armored corpse. However, Lu Kuan still had some confidence in Priest Corpse's breakthrough. According to Priest Corpse's feedback, he broke through the bottleneck of the initial level bronze armored corpse after discovering the mysterious cocoon in the cave of the Land of Death. Therefore, Lu Kuan estimated that if Priest Corpse absorbed the remaining half of the cold power in the cocoon, he would most likely be able to break through to the higher level. Based on Priest Corpse's absorption speed, it would take him at least another 3 years to absorb the remaining cold power of the cocoon. Forget it, the cold power inside Priest Corpse's body is much stronger than it was 4 years ago anyway. He is only one step away from the next level. I can give it a try. Maybe it will work. Thinking up to here, Lu Kuan simply put into action. In the past 4 years, he had been constantly using the lightning element magic to help Priest Corpse temper his bones. He was already very proficient in using the destructive power generated by these two types of magic. Lu Kuan sat cross-legged in the middle of the cave, retracting all the lightning element magic inside his body into his bones. After entering the bone treasure stage, he would normally let the core formation level magic power flow through his muscles, blood, and internal organs, using this higher level magic power to continue tempering his body. Therefore, in the bone treasure stage, besides nurturing the embryo of the bone treasure stage, the strength of his body was still continuously improving. Following Lu Kuan's order, Priest Corpse, who was sitting in front of him, sat down as well. He reached his hand, which was wrapped in black muscles, towards Lu Kuan's right hand. Next, Priest Corpse followed Lu Kuan's order and released a strong stream of cold power, which immediately covered Lu Kuan's entire arm. Lu Kuan felt the cold energy enter his body, causing a piercing pain. His eyebrows twitched slightly, but he endured it as if nothing had happened. With his willpower that had been tempered after entering the bone treasure stage, this kind of pain would not be too big for him. Moreover, with the strength of his muscles, the cold force would not be able to hurt his body. Then, Lu Kuan's mind moved, and the originally hidden bone magic power gradually emitted a trace of thunder element aura from his arm bones. With the help of Priest Corpse, the cold power near Lu Kuan's bones impatiently rushed into Lu Kuan's bones, trying to eliminate this extremely annoying trace of thunder element aura. Meanwhile, Priest Corpse carefully sensed the way the cold power entered his bones, try to understand the difference between Lu Kuan's bones and his own. With the help of Lu Kuan during the past 4 years, Priest Corpse had already been able to control the cold power to enter his own bones. Suddenly, a new stream of cold power emerged from Lu Kuan's bones, which made the thunder element power inside his bones become restless. Fortunately, this power was all under Lu Kuan's control, and a small part of it was sent to the cold power that had entered his bones. Sizzle, 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 sizzle. Under the impact of the thunder element power, the cold power was directly extinguished, like a flame meeting the sea. Lu Kuan narrowed his eyes, as he had expected this scene long ago. He said, "Priest Corpse, you should be able to control the cold power to enter directly into the bones, right?" Priest Corpse nodded, then activated all the cold power of the peak-level bronze shell zombie, rushing towards Lu Kuan's right arm bone. This time, Lu Kuan had used some of the thunder element power as bait and placed it deep inside the bone marrow cavity, while the rest of the power was hidden inside the bones. What Priest Corpse could do was to send the cold power into Lu Kuan's palm bone, after which it would be hard for him to control it. The cold power that had entered Lu Kuan's palm bone was at the core formation stage, and after losing some of it, half of it had entered the bone marrow cavity. At this moment, Lu Kuan quickly activated the thunder element power that had been hidden outside. This power had originally wrapped around the bone marrow cavity, and now that it had emerged, it directly cut off the source of the cold power. Facing the thunder element power, the remaining cold power's survival instinct made it continuously dodge and shrink back. Therefore, the cold power that had entered Lu Kuan's bone spontaneously condensed, but after reaching a critical point, it no longer condensed and madly crashed into Lu Kuan's thunder element power. Sizzle, sizzle. Just like before, the cold power was destroyed by the surrounding thunder element power. However, at this moment, Lu Kuan immediately sensed a small stream of destructive power spreading out, silently entering his bones. An indescribable sharp pain was transmitted to Lu Kuan's brain through his sensitive nerves, making the corners of his mouth twitch unconsciously. However, this sharp pain came quickly and left quickly as well. A pleasantly surprised look flashed across Lu Kuan's eyes, and he immediately sensed the changes in the bones of his arms. He activated his spiritual power and his golden eyes simultaneously, and at the same time recalled the sharp pain from before. After a long while, Lu Kuan showed a mixed expression and murmured, "I didn't expect that the energy of a peak mid-level bronze-armored corpse could also produce destructive power. Although this destructive power is a bit small, it still has a tempering effect on my bones. Compared to pure magic power, the effect is much more obvious. It seems that in the future, apart from letting Corpse Priest absorb the pupa's energy every day, I also need to let it assist my cultivation." Lu Kuan slowly stood up and said while thinking, "Just now I was suppressing the cold power deep inside my bone marrow, and thus condensing it, and then the energy that burst out just happened to spread to my bones. The bone marrow cavity is connected to the blood. If this cold power can be stored in my blood, then transported through the blood to the bone marrow cavity of my entire body, and then compressed in the same way. Wouldn't that be more efficient than guiding the cold power into my bones? Otherwise, too much of the cold power would be consumed in this process, and most of it would be consumed in the process of seeping into the bone marrow cavity." Lu Kuan had been cultivating his body for so long, and had rich experience. Based on the situation of the destructive power just now, and what he had learned from tempering Corpse Priest bones in the past few years, he came up with the most efficient tempering plan within a blink of an eye. But how can I let the cold power of Corpse Priest enter my blood? And how can I restrain it and safely transport it through my blood? Lu Kuan showed a thoughtful look. Right at this moment, the little monkey's ears slightly twitched, and it began to squeak. Lu Kuan slightly exclaimed, "Why is Qing Tian here? I told them that I would be on standby in the holy city of warriors for the past 2 years. Is there anything urgent?" After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, a silhouette darted out from the entrance of the cave. That handsome face with sword-like eyebrows and sparkling eyes was none other than Zhao Qingtian. Chapter 620. When Lu Kuan heard Zhao Qingtian's words, his eyes flashed with surprise. "I didn't expect Senior Marshal Brother Qin to be faster than I expected. You've succeeded in forming your core in just 4 years." Zhao Qingtian shook off the seawater on his body and said excitedly, "Yes, and Martial Uncle Qin's wine shadow technique was passed down to him by martial ancestor Nya. It's a wind attribute technique. Now that he's in the core formation realm, his strength must be extraordinary." When Lu Kuan heard this, he recalled the appearance of Nya Wufeng after he entered the core formation realm. This senior saved him from the hands of 2 late-stage and 1 mid-stage core formation cultivators at the Miraculous Gate. This kind of strength was incomparably terrifying even for the current Lu Kuan. Nya Wufeng's wind attribute technique had probably reached the threshold of high-level techniques. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to resist 3 late-stage core formation cultivators without any magic treasures. And the speed at the end was even more outrageous. With Lu Kuan's current strength, fighting with Nye Wufeng, he reckoned that he would also be unable to do anything to that martial Uncle Nye, whose talent was astonishing. Senior Martial Brother Qin is Martial Uncle Nye's only spiritual master. After entering the core formation realm, he was able to study Martial Uncle Nye's self-created techniques. Naturally, his strength wouldn't be too weak. After pausing for a moment, Lu Kuan slowly said, "It seems that the time to attack the Devil's Den has come." When Zhao Qingtian heard this, his eyes lit up. He knew that the Devil's Den was under Demon Spirit Island. It was a big problem for them. If it wasn't for Lu Kuan overseeing the Dead Sea, Qin Yushu and the others wouldn't dare to stay on Demon Spirit Island to cultivate. Zhao Qingtian licked his lips and said, "Master, is what you said true?" "Of course it's true." Then Zhao Qingtian said worriedly, "But Master, other than killing a Devil's Den disciple at the Great Circle of Foundation Establishment, the ones we secretly killed were only Foundation Establishment disciples from the Red Refining Sect. We're not too sure about the strength of this Demon's Den either. Isn't this a little too rash?" Lu Kuan said, "Ever since your junior martial brother started spreading rumors, a female core formation cultivator came from the outside. This place is too close to the Devil's Den. In order not to alert the enemy, I didn't act rashly. Other than that one time, the Demon's Den didn't do anything for the next 4 years. Combined with the reaction of the Red Refinement sect to the rumors, I think they should have guessed that someone outside is secretly dealing with the Red Refinement sect. In order to prevent the 10 major sects from being suspicious, the Red Refinement sect will only be lurking in the dark these years. Later, I arranged for you to secretly kill the ordinary Foundation Establishment disciples of the Red Refinement sect in order to make the Red Refinement sect more cautious and give up the idea of supporting the Devil's Den." Lu Kuan looked in the direction of the Dead Sea and pinched his fingers. "According to my calculations, in this Demon's Den, other than the strongest late core formation cultivator, there are at most 3 early core formation cultivators. Now that Senior Martial Brother Qin has entered the core formation stage, his set of pseudo-magic treasure, the 5-feather universe blade, can completely unleash the power of a magic treasure. With the help of Senior Martial Brother Zhu, Senior Martial Brother Lu, and Xiao Hongfei, it's more than enough to deal with the 3 early core formation cultivators. Even if there's an accident, there's still Dahe, the 5th-grade Black Mountain Ape." Then Lu Kuan looked at the corpse priest and said, "As for the late core formation cultivator, now that I have the help of a peak mid-stage bronze armored corpse, I'm confident that I can deal with him." Zhao Qingtian looked at the zombie beside him. His divine sense was much weaker than a core formation cultivator's, so he couldn't sense the corpse priest's strength. Only after hearing Lu Kuan's words did he know that the zombie was a terrifying existence at this stage. He looked at Priest Corpse, who was now a bit ferocious, and heard Lu Kuan's words. All the worries in his heart disappeared. He murmured, "I didn't think that after all these years, our overall power has already become so great." Lu Kuan chuckled and said, "As for the remaining Foundation Establishment cultivators, although I don't know how many there shouldn't be more than 5 of them at the late core formation stage or higher. I'll leave them to you guys to deal with. After all, in an environment like this underwater cave, the combat strength of body cultivators is much stronger. With your cooperation, you won't have to worry about being surrounded." Then, he revealed a faint smile and said, "Not to mention, you and Shui used the power of ice to greatly increase your strength. You should have entered the Viscera forging stage by now, right?" Zhao Qingtian's expression stiffened. He awkwardly scratched his head and said, "Master, you saw through me just like that. I was planning to hide it for a while and give you a surprise." Lu Kuan smiled and said, "Although you've controlled your magic power, I can still feel the exuberant blood and qi in your body. This blood and qi is much stronger than your junior apprentice brothers. You've entered the Viscera forging stage. Schwerer, who has benefited more, has also entered this stage." Zhao Qingtian was seen through But he didn't hide it. Yes, Shui entered the viscera forging stage a year ago. Moreover, after consuming a certain amount of blood essence, she can temporarily activate martial ancestor Wang Ruobing's frozen sword magic treasure. Although she can only display a portion of its power, it has already reached the level of a pseudo-magic treasure. Shui can now be said to be the strongest body cultivator among us. Lu Kuan sighed with emotion. Back then, martial ancestor Wang Ruobing released the power of her golden core and sealed the frozen sword magic treasure into Shui's body. She was at the mid-core formation stage. After she released her golden core, the level of her frozen ice energy almost reached the level of late core formation stage. 4 years ago, you and your sister were sealed in ice. I originally thought that it would only take a month to recover. Who knew that the remaining energy in the frozen sword magic treasure would be so great? The two of you spent a full half a year before you were finally freed. Zhao Qingtian recalled the scene at that time, and fear appeared on his face. Fortunately, Master brought us to Demon Spirit Island. There was a rich amount of magic power for Shui and I to absorb, and use the body refining art to resist. Shui has nurtured the frozen sword for many years. Her magic power is also of the ice attribute, so she has a certain resistance to the powerful energy in the frozen sword. When the energy was distributed to my body, it weakened a lot. Otherwise, the recovery speed of the primordial tree body refining art wouldn't have been able to keep up with the destructive speed of the frozen ice energy. That feeling of my blood and internal organs being almost frozen was simply terrible. Lu Kuan nodded and said, "That's right. When you came last time, there were still remnants of the frozen ice energy in your body. Now that you've entered the viscera forging stage, has it been completely removed?" Zhao Qingtian said, "Yes. The remaining frozen ice energy in my body was completely washed away by my blood magic power 2 months ago. Afterwards, I naturally entered the viscera forging stage, and my magic power reached the level of late foundation establishment." After Lu Kuan heard this, he couldn't help but feel a deep sense of respect for martial ancestor Wang Ruobing, who had passed away many years ago. The things that this core formation female cultivator of Yang clan gave Shui were of great help to the Zhao siblings. The Zhao siblings had entered the blood condensation stage while Lu Kuan was in seclusion to break through to the great circle of body tempering. Now, the two of them had been cultivating in the blood condensation stage for more than 20 years. According to their normal progress and the special circumstances of the blood condensation stage, they would have wasted at least another 20 years in the blood condensation stage. But the frozen ice magic treasure that Wang Ruobing had left behind in Shui's body had saved them 20 years. It had to be known that the Zhao siblings were only 20 years younger than Lu Kuan, and they were already 100 years old. The earlier they entered the great circle of body tempering stage, the greater their chances of breaking through to the bone treasure stage. For body cultivators, the 20 years they had saved was no less than a miraculous elixir to assist in core formation. After knowing that the Zhao siblings had entered the viscera forging stage, Lu Kuan was even more confident in attacking the Devil's Den viscera forging stage. Body cultivators had their internal organs strengthened greatly. The sharp sound waves they emitted from their mouths were shockingly powerful against cultivators with weak physical bodies. In the space of the underwater cave, it was a trump card to deal with the enemy. Nowadays, immortal cultivators would almost never use soundproof shields in battle. Lu Kuan pondered for a moment, then took out a jade slip. He sent his divine sense into it and quickly handed it over to Zhao Qingtian. "Qingtian, I will continue to stand guard here. Give this jade slip to senior apprentice Brother Qin. Then gather all the body cultivator disciples. In a month, we will meet outside the Dead Sea and prepare to attack the Devil's Denver." "Yes, Master." Chapter 621. A month later, in the same underground cave near the Dead Sea, there were 10 figures squeezed into this narrow space. They were the people from the body refining pavilion and the treasure pavilion. They were here to deal with the devil's den. Qin Yushu held a five-feathered fan in her hand and carefully examined the white or at the top of the cave. She exclaimed in admiration, "Junior brother, you must have used brute force and your refining skills to embed this absolute god or in, right?" These ores were naturally the mysterious ores that Lu Kuan had excavated in the one-line sky cave in the land of death. They had also used these ores to refine pseudo-psychic magic treasures that could isolate divine sense. For the sake of convenience, they named this or the absolute god, or because its greatest function was to isolate the power of divine sense. Secondly, it had a strong defensive power and could even resist the attack of magic treasures. Lu Kuan's hand flashed with purple light as he sent spirit energy toward the white ore. He said, "Senior brother is half right. These ores were indeed tempered by me, but I've already refined them. They can barely be called magic treasures. As long as I cast a little spell, it can be directly embedded into the wall of the cave residence. As a powerful defensive barrier, whether it is to isolate divine sense or resist attacks, it has a great effect. The only pity is that the number is limited and there is no way to cover a large area." As he spoke, the absolute god, ores above the cave, fell from the soil with a clatter, turning into a pile of linked stones. This pile of absolute god, or had already been refined by Lu Kuan. They were connected head to tail like a thick white chain. With a flash of purple light, Lu Kuan put them into his storage pouch. Qin Yushu closed his fan and cupped his fist. Junior brother has stayed in this place with so little spirit energy for 4 years. Senior brother represents everyone in the treasure pavilion to thank junior brother. If it weren't for junior brother, we would have stayed on the Abyss Island to cultivate. We wouldn't have dared to return to Demon Spirit Island, and I wouldn't have been able to enter the core formation stage so smoothly. On the side, Xiao Hongfei also revealed a look of gratitude. After all these years of cultivation on Spirit Island, this newly joined core formation cultivator truly felt the benefits of Spirit Island. With such rich spirit chi in the blessed enclave, not only would it speed up his cultivation, but it would also increase his success rate in alchemy. He had already used the sea bear monster core that Lu Kuan gave him to refine a bottle of pills that could increase his cultivation. In the past 4 years, he had relied on the pills and the spiritual energy of Demon Spirit Island to increase his cultivation. He was very satisfied with the speed of his cultivation. "Brother Lu, I've already heard from Brother Qin about the Devil's Denver. There are only 4 core formation stage cultivators inside. With our current strength, we should be able to crush them, right?" Xiao Hongfei asked. Lu Kuan shook his head and said with a serious expression, "Brother Xiao, do you remember the situation when we fought in the Demon Spirit Island?" Xiao Hongfei was stunned for a moment before he understood what Lu Kuan meant. He muttered, "You mean this Devil's Den is similar to the Demon Spirit Island and has a suppressive effect on traditional cultivators?" Lu Kuan nodded and said, "According to the information I received, the Devil's Den is extremely rich in demon spirit chi. After we enter, our spirit chi will most likely be suppressed. And the Devil's Den cultivators of the Red Refining Sect will be even stronger in an environment filled with demon spirit chi. We can't let our guard down." Xiao Hongfei and the others heard this, and their expressions became serious. There were a total of 5 core formation stage cultivators gathered here. There was Lu Kuan, a body cultivator whose strength was comparable to a perfected core formation stage cultivator. There was Qin Yushu, who had just entered the core formation stage and cultivated wind-type divine arts. There was also Xiao Hongfei, who had entered the core formation stage using the ancient core formation method and had a complete set of Dharma treasures. There was also Zhu Xiaofeng and Lu Xiao, who had Dharma treasures for many years. If it was any other place, not to mention Lu Kuan, Xiao Hongfei alone was confident that he could face 2 or 3 early-stage core formation stage cultivators. However, everyone's cultivation methods had nothing to do with demon spirit chi, so it was hard to say how strong they would be in the Devil's Den. Zhu Xiaofeng looked at the excited Zhao Qingtian and the others and said worriedly, "Junior brother, Isn't it a little risky for you to bring all the disciples of the first generation of body cultivators here? Even if we encounter a foundation establishment stage cultivator, it won't be a problem for us." Before Lu Kuan could say anything, Zhao Qingtian replied, "Uncle Master Zhu, don't worry. Most of our battles are based on physical strength. Even if we use magic power, we use it on magic tools. Demon spirit Qi doesn't have much impact on our combat strength." Lu Kuan also said, "Senior brother Zhu, Qingtian and the others have been fighting all these years. Their combat experience is not low. With them, we can focus on dealing with the core formation stage cultivators in the Devil's Denver." Zhu Xiaofeng thought for a moment, and his expression relaxed. It was no wonder that he was so worried. Although the remaining disciples of the Yang clan now had 4 core formation stage cultivators, if they wanted to take revenge, Zhao, Qingtian, and the others' generation was the most crucial. After Lu Kuan cleaned up the cave, he said seriously, "Senior and junior brothers, this time we have to completely solve the Devil's Denver. As long as we kill Tian Renjia inside, even if the people of the Red Refining Sect come over in a few years, they won't be able to open the restriction. After all, according to the Li brothers, the restriction token here can only be refined by Tian Renjia, who is possessed by an ancient demon cultivator. Without the Devil's Den, we can cultivate in peace on Demon Spirit Island." Seeing that everyone was in high spirits, Lu Kuan grabbed the little monkey who was running around among the crowd and took the lead to swim out of the cave. Following closely behind was a group of core formation stage cultivators, Zhao, Qingtian, and the other 4 first-generation disciples. The location of the Devil's Den was discovered by Lu Kuan and Xiao Jin as early as 4 years ago. They simply went over from the bottom of the sea. Everyone in the core formation stage had inner armor made of absolute God or in their hands, and body cultivators could hide their magic power. Even if an immortal cultivator released their divine sense on the surface of the sea, they might not be able to discover the 10 people and 1 monkey. The distance of 1 to 200 miles was quickly passed. Everyone arrived outside a huge trench and then followed Lu Kuan into the depths of the trench. In the deepest part of the trench was an incomparably dark, invisible cave that couldn't be seen with the naked eye. Outside the cave, there was a layer of light silver shield. Lu Kuan swam to the outside of the shield and took out 2 formation plates. He threw one of them to Qin Yushu and transmitted his voice. "These 2 formation plates are one-time use tokens to pass through the Devil's Denver. I don't know how many times they can be used. I'll take 1. After Senior Martial Brother Qin entered the core formation stage, you're proficient in wind attribute shield techniques. Your ability to protect yourself has greatly increased." Seeing Qin Yushu accept it with care, Lu Kuan said, "A few years ago, the Li clan brothers brought many disciples here. Therefore, after this token is opened, we should all be able to enter. However, just in case, I'll have to trouble Senior Martial Brother Zhu to be the last to enter. If the restriction closes, Senior Martial Brother Zhu can help us from the outside." "Okay, Junior Martial Brother. Senior Martial Brother Qin, look carefully. This is the method to open the token." Lu Kuan threw out the restriction token he obtained from the Li clan brothers. Rays of spiritual light entered it. Lu Kuan had obtained this chant when the Li clan brothers were spying on Demon Spirit Island. Soon, a gap big enough for 1 person to pass through appeared on the silver restriction, revealing an incomparably dark passage behind it. Lu Kuan didn't hesitate and directly rushed in with Xiao Jin. The others looked at each other and revealed a cautious expression. They activated their defensive barrier and followed closely behind. Chapter 622. Just as Lu Kuan and the others were about to open the silver restriction, in the deepest part of the Devil's Den, a middle-aged man shrouded in black, Qi opened his eyes. His eyes flashed with bewilderment. "That's impossible. Only the core formation cultivators of the Devil Cave know the location of the Devil Cave. Who else would know? Furthermore, without my token, how could you have entered? Could it be the mastermind behind the Li brothers' death?" When the middle-aged man thought of this, The black chi outside his body trembled, and an abnormal blush appeared on his face. Damn it, I've reached a critical point in my cultivation and will soon enter the demon infant stage. I can't delay it. The middle-aged man used his divine sense outside the cave and gave a few instructions to a tiger-sized demonic beast with purple-black scales that was resting on the ground. Then, the demonic beast with a ferocious aura flashed and disappeared on the spot. Its speed was as fast as teleportation. After Lu Kuan and the others entered the outermost silver restriction, they soon found themselves in an underground passage that was still filled with seawater. The passage was so dark that they couldn't see their own fingers and they couldn't feel any strange aura. Whether it was spirit chi or demonic chi, it didn't exist. It was no different from the Dead Sea outside. Lu Kuan and Xiao Hongfei's divine sense were the strongest. The two of them worked together to explore, but they couldn't find the end. It was obvious that the length of this passage was beyond the range of their divine sense. Looking at this scene, Lu Kuan pondered for a moment before transmitting his voice. It seems that the direction of this passage is very likely to lead to our Demon Spirit Island. The Lee brothers once said that Demon Spirit Island is located above the Devil's Denver. Now it seems that they made that judgment based on this passage. Lu Kuan continued, "The Demon Spirit Island is only a few hundred miles away from here. This passage is at most this length, but we have to be careful of the hidden restrictions and traps here." Everyone nodded and slowed down. Xiao Jin, who was lying on Lu Kuan's shoulder, pricked up its ears and listened carefully. Its divine sense had a longer range than everyone's divine sense. If there was anything strange, it would be able to alert them immediately. Just like that, half a day slowly passed. On the other hand, Lu Kuan and the others were surprised that they did not find any restriction traps in this passage. The people of the Red Refining Sect did not set up any defensive measures here. Later on, Lu Kuan and company discovered the silver restrictions scattered around the passageway. Zhu Xiaofeng gave it a try and realized that it was impossible to set up any other array formations in the passageway with the silver restrictions. This time, everyone relaxed and quickened their pace. Soon, they arrived at the deepest part of the tunnel. The innermost part of the passage was a dead end. A wall flashing with silver restrictions blocked everyone. However, there was a passageway about the size of a well on the wall above this place. Dark seawater rippled through it without any silver restrictions blocking it. Lu Kuan's eyes flashed with golden light as he transmitted his voice. "Based on the distance, our Demon Spirit Island should be right above the sea. This cave should be the real entrance to the Devil's Denver." Then, a cautious look appeared on his face. He patted the little monkey and had it jump onto Zhao Qingtian's shoulder. Then he patted the spirit beast pouch on his waist. A figure covered with black muscles appeared in the passageway. It was Priest Corpse. Under Lu Kuan's will, Priest Corpse swam directly to the cave entrance above. In terms of physical defense, Priest Corpse could be said to be a level higher than Lu Kuan. Not only did he have black muscles that could resist the attacks of magic treasures, but he also had bones that Lu Kuan had refined for 4 years inside his body. Even that Tian Renjia might not be able to kill Priest Corpse in a short time. After Priest Corpse went up, Lu Kuan and the others followed closely behind. This was a peak mid-rank bronze-armored corpse. Everyone was told that with such a powerful creature to explore the way, any hidden dangers would be blocked by the bronze-armored corpse. Thus, everyone's safety was much higher. Once they entered the cave entrance, they found the exit on the other side with their spirit sense. Priest Corpse took the lead and directly jumped out from the exit. Lu Kuan closed his eyes and sensed for a while. Then he signaled the others with his eyes and carefully followed Priest Corpse out. Is this a defensive formation? As soon as he came out of the sea, Lu Kuan saw that there was a white mist all around him. Even with his spiritual consciousness, he was unable to rush out of this mist. Obviously, it was a man-made restriction. He pondered for a while. Then 2 magic plates appeared in his hands. The magic power inside his body surged. 2 beams of light were released from the magic plates, shooting towards the fog formation outside. However, the white mist didn't change at all. Obviously, these two magic plates didn't have any effect. It seems that after the death of the Lee brothers and that core formation cultivator from the Devil's Cave, the people here are very vigilant. Although they can't change the outer silver formation, they can adjust the defensive formation here. Lu Kuan murmured to himself. Then he sent a message to the entrance behind him. Senior brothers, you can come up now. This is a defensive formation. I'm afraid we need to break it by force. As soon as he finished speaking, Qin Yushu and the others came out of the sea one by one. Each of them was cautiously holding a magic power shield and looking at the white mist around them. Qin Yushu sensed with his spirit's sense and said in a deep voice, Junior brother, in addition to defense, this formation also has a warning function. We have to break this formation in one blow. Otherwise, it will let the enemy be prepared. Lu Kuan nodded and said, Okay, let's do as Senior Brother said. We 5 core formation cultivators, plus my bronze-armored corpse, will attack at the same time. The Red Refining Sect only has one nascent soul cultivator. This man-made formation shouldn't be able to stop so many of us working together. After saying that, a purple light flashed in Lu Kuan's hand, and he held the purple firmament rod in his hand. The others also took out their magic weapons. Needless to say, Qin Yushu was using the magic fan in his hand, the 5-feather universe saber. As his mana surged, the magic fan split into 5 green flying sabers in an instant. Then, the 5 sabers merged into one, transforming into a flying saber that shone with green light. Xiao Hongfei summoned the Vajra rings on his hands and feet in front of him. These 4 Vajra rings emitted a strong metal aura. As for Zhu Xiaofeng and Lu Xiao, they each used a long sword and a long saber magic weapon. Attack! Under Lu Kuan's command, the 5 core formation cultivators' magic weapons, plus the corpse priest's 5 claws flashing with a cold aura, launched an attack one after another. The combined power of the many magic treasures directly bombarded the invisible restriction in the white fog. A shattering sound rang out as the surrounding fog dissipated. Everyone's combined attack had directly broken through this powerful defensive magic formation. As soon as the formation disappeared, everyone withdrew their magic weapons. Lu Kuan and the corpse priest stood at the forefront, forming a defensive formation. However, the expected attack didn't come. Only an extremely dense devil aura surged over, emitting an evil aura that made the light of Lu Kuan and the others' magic weapons dim a little. Qin Yushu and the others' faces darkened. Just as Lu Kuan said, the devil aura here was very dense, and they couldn't display 100% of their strength. Squeak, squeak, squeak. At this time, Xiao Jin, who was sitting on Zhao Qingtian's shoulder, twitched his ears and cried out. When Lu Kuan heard this, his expression became even more strange. He muttered, What's going on? No one is coming. Hearing Xiao Jin's words, Lu Kuan used his spiritual sense to explore the cave passageways in front of them. Sure enough, it was empty. With such a big commotion, there's really no one. Chapter 6:23. In this narrow space, Xiao Jin's sudden cry was still echoing. Zhao Qingtian immediately covered the little monkey's mouth and carefully looked around. However, after waiting for a while, he noticed the strange expressions on Lu Kuan and the others' faces. It was as if no one was in this demon's den. Could it be that the people in the demon's den didn't notice that we broke the restriction? Or does this restriction not have a warning function? Xiao Hongfei transmitted his voice to everyone. Lu Kuan shook his head. Impossible. This is such an important place. They can't be so careless. Qin Yushu transmitted his voice. Could it be that the disciples in the demon's den are all cultivating in seclusion? After all, this is a place with such dense demonic qi. Naturally, they would make the best use of their time to cultivate. According to Junior Brother's observations over the years, no one has come in or out of this place. It's really possible that everyone is in seclusion. Lu Kuan thought for a moment and felt that this was indeed a possibility. He bent down and knocked on the soil on the ground. Then he activated his golden eye divine ability and discovered that the ground here was covered in a thick layer of soil. However, in the depths of the soil, there was still a layer of strange restriction light screen. This light screen looked a little strange. Yellow and white light flowed on it, and it was somewhat different from the silver restriction light screen in the trench outside. It was precisely because there was a restriction light screen in the depths of the soil that it was barely possible to set up a restriction here. The soil on the ground was thick, but the walls of the tunnel ahead were different. There was a yellow and white light screen flashing on it. Combined with the silver restriction outside the seawater tunnel, the entire demon's den seemed to be enveloped by a mysterious ancient restriction. Just like their demon spirit island, there was a natural barrier. Lu Kuan slowly walked forward. At the same time, he took out several formation discs and pointed them at the walls of the tunnel. A few white lights flashed, but the formation discs didn't have any effect. He said thoughtfully, "It seems that formations can be set up on the ground here. The walls and ceiling of the tunnel have the restrictions of the demon's den itself. Other formations can't work. So, when we move forward, we just have to pay attention to our feet." Zhu Xiaofeng transmitted his voice anxiously. "Junior brother, let's hurry up and scout ahead. If the disciples of the demon's den are really in seclusion, we can definitely catch them off guard." The others nodded in agreement. Huang Xiaoyan was also excited. He loved sneak attacks like this. Lu Kuan transmitted his voice. "The tunnel can only accommodate 2 people at most. I'll stand at the front and Daoist corpse at the back. Senior brother and senior Lu stand at the back. If corpses attack, you two's backs, and senior's backs. Brother Xiao and senior martial brother Qin stand behind me. If we encounter any core formation stage demonic cultivators, the 3 of us must kill them immediately. As for that Black Mountain ape, senior apprentice brother Qin, there's no need to release it for now. After all, with its size, it will occupy the entire channel." Everyone nodded and adjusted their positions. The weakest first-generation body cultivator stood in the middle. The current situation was different from what Lu Kuan and the others had expected. The enemy didn't appear immediately. They might be hiding in the dark. Therefore, Zhao Qingtian and the others became their weakness. Lu Kuan didn't have a way to search the souls of the Li brothers, so he didn't know the layout of the demon's den. Now he could only walk through the tunnels from left to right. Lu Kuan's eyes flashed with golden light. He observed the ground in front of him as he led the group forward. As long as there were any strange restrictions or traps on the ground, they wouldn't be able to escape his eyes. In the middle of the group, Xiao Jin, who was sitting cross-legged on Zhao Qingtian's shoulder, also pricked up his ears. However, there were countless tunnels here, and the tunnels were also covered with ancient restrictions. Therefore, the range of his ears wasn't as wide as the outside. Even so, he could still detect further than Lu Kuan and the others. After all, the restrictions on the walls of the tunnel also had a certain degree of restriction on the divine senses of core formation cultivators. After about the time it took to eat a meal, the front of the group suddenly opened up. A rather spacious tunnel appeared. Lu Kuan raised his eyebrows and quickly signaled to the people behind him with his eyes. Qin Yushu and Xiao Hongfei, who were behind him, looked over and realized that there were some traces of formations on the ground on both sides of the tunnel. There were even a few fragments of formation plates left behind. Lu Kuan glanced at Xiao Jin. Seeing the little monkey winking at him, he knew that there wasn't any movement nearby. Therefore, he directly walked into the tunnel. After a careful inspection, he quickly discovered that there were 8 spirit formations set up in this passage. Each spirit formation covered an area of about 30 feet. In total, they covered the entire 2 sides of the tunnel. What kind of formation is this? It's so strange. But from the looks of it, it seems to have been dismantled in a panic. Lu Kuan muttered with a face full of confusion. Xiao Hongfei and Qin Yushu also walked up from behind. They looked around and also discovered the strange situation here. The aura of this formation is somewhat familiar. At this moment, Zhao Qingtian suddenly spoke. "Qingtian, what did you discover?" Zhao Qingtian scratched his chin and said with a strange expression, "The aura of this formation seems to be the star-moon pavilion circle of confinement." Circle of confinement? Qin Yushu and the other core formation cultivators all revealed blank expressions. Zhao Qingtian explained, "This formation is very ordinary, but is widely spread among the Qi refinement cultivators in the Chu country. It is a formation that can protect and warn a small area. Almost all the Qi refinement cultivators in the Chu country have a set of circle of confinement. When they find a suitable place to cultivate, they only need to set up this formation to hide their aura. At the same time, it can protect them from the attacks of the Qi refinement late stage." After he finished speaking, he looked at Huang Xiaoyan behind him. The latter understood and immediately took out a few formation plates. Zhao Qingtian continued, "Master and the other Uncle Master's cultivations are too high. Of course, they don't pay much attention to the situation of the low-level cultivators. The formation plates in Xiaoyan's hands were obtained by the second-generation disciples who killed the Red Refining Sect disciples. Master will know at a glance." After hearing Zhao Qingtian's explanation, Lu Kuan looked at the formation plates in Huang Xiaoyan's hands and said thoughtfully, inferring, "This is the cultivation place of the Demon Cave's Qi refinement stage disciples. However, the traces on the ground are covered by dust. It looks like it has been like this for a few years." Qin Yushu's eyes flashed. Could it be that something has happened in the Demon Cave? Lu Kuan also immediately thought of this point. Then, he shook his head and said, "You can't say that. Maybe these people have entered the Foundation establishment stage and went to other places in the Demon Cave to cultivate." Squeak! At this moment, Xiao Jin suddenly let out a hurried cry from behind. Lu Kuan's expression changed. He transmitted his voice, "Not good, there's movement." Just as he finished speaking, a huge black shadow suddenly appeared in front of them. A pair of bloodshot eyes shone in the darkness, staring at Lu Kuan and the others. Everyone's reaction was not slow. They immediately returned to their previous formation. Lu Kuan held the purple firmament rod in his hand. Like a towering mountain, he blocked in front of everyone. His eyes flashed with golden light as he looked at the huge figure on the other side of the passage. It was a huge, demonic beast the size of a tiger. Its body was covered in purplish-black scales. It looked a little like a cat, but also a little like a badger beast. The aura on its body was slightly chaotic. Lu Kuan felt that not only was there demonic qi, but there was also a strong demonic qi. When Lu Kuan's eyes saw the sharp claws on the demonic beast, his expression changed slightly. Chapter 6:24. This tiger-sized badger-shaped monster beast was the same fierce badger that Lu Kuan had encountered on the Demon Island in the past. When it heard Lu Kuan's words, its red eyes widened to the size of copper bells. It was clear that it recognized Lu Kuan. This fierce badger with surging devil qi suddenly recalled the scene of being suppressed by Lu Kuan's physical strength. Even the scene of its old master being dismembered was still vivid in its mind. It didn't expect that the one who broke into the demon cave and wanted to disturb its new master's cultivation would still be this person. The fierce badger's eyes flashed with hatred. The old and new grudges piled up together, and it was filled with killing intent towards Lu Kuan. Its four limbs slightly crouched, and its body slightly trembled. The muscles of its four limbs violently contracted, and the devil attribute spiritual power in its body flowed towards its claws. Then its entire body disappeared. This fierce badger's current strength couldn't be compared to before. With a speed that was hard to see with the naked eye, it quietly jumped into the passage above Lu Kuan. Soon after, it stomped on the ceiling of the tunnel with its hind legs and nimbly reversed its direction. The foot-long sharp claws on its forelimbs aimed at Lu Kuan's head. It wanted to tear apart his skull and lick his brain to eliminate this hateful human cultivator. Just when the fierce badger thought that this attack was in the bag, Lu Kuan suddenly raised his head and his eyes flashed with ridicule. Then, the fierce badger saw a purple-black staff appear in front of its claws. "Dang, A crisp sound accompanied by a glaring purple halo appeared in the passage. Lu Kuan grabbed the two ends of the purple firmament staff with both hands and resisted the fierce badger's claws. At this moment, the purple firmament staff emitted a force of no less than 200,000 pounds, causing Lu Kuan's legs to slightly bend. Good heavens, its strength is almost the same as mine. Lu Kuan was startled. Even if he had some expectations, he was still shocked by the fierce badger's brute force. With this level of strength and the fierce badger's sharp claws, the power of this attack was no less than the attack of a late core formation cultivator. If the ferocious badger's attack had landed on Zhu Xiaofeng and the others, it might have directly shattered their shields and killed them. Unfortunately, the fierce badger was attracted by Lu Kuan at the first moment. It first attacked the treasure bone stage body cultivator, which had never appeared before. This doomed it to failure. Lu Kuan's leg muscles bulged like steel bars, and his tight-fitting long pants almost burst open. Using the strength of his legs, he raised the purple firmament rod and fiercely swung it. The fierce badger beast, which was still in a daze, was directly sent flying by Lu Kuan's power, smashing into the restriction at the top of the passage. Roar! The ferocious badger let out an unwilling roar. Its body quickly curled up and stretched. Borrowing the force of the collision, it moved to the side of the passageway. Its four limbs exerted force together, and it rushed up from below. Its two claws once again aimed at Lu Kuan's chest. Its speed was as fast as lightning, incomparably fast. As a body cultivator, Lu Kuan's physical reaction was not weaker than any monster beast. Not to mention, he also had the help of the Golden Eye Divine ability. Although the ferocious badger beast's speed was astonishing, it was still caught by him. Capturing the enemy's movements, Lu Kuan's nerves were completely able to keep up. He promptly adjusted his body to make the next step of defense. His body leaned to the side. The purple firmament rod flashed with purple lightning. It did not block the ferocious badger beast's claws. Instead, it went from top to bottom, accurately smashing towards its head. An inch longer was an inch stronger. Lu Kuan's purple firmament rod was much longer than the ferocious badger beast's forelimbs. Although it was launched later, it would arrive first and hit the ferocious badger beast's head first. A red light flashed in the ferocious badger beast's eyes. From the previous blow, it already knew that its former human opponent had become even more powerful. This purple-black long rod also contained the aura of lightning that it hated. It would not take the risk of using its head to meet it. Therefore, it curled up its body and quickly retracted its head to its abdomen, using the purple-black scales on its back to resist. At the same time, its forelimbs surged with devil chi, and a black light flashed in the darkness of the lightning. A loud rumbling sound rang out. Lu Kuan's purple firmament rod erupted with a surging ball of lightning. Following this powerful rod strike, it hit the ferocious badger beast's back scales that seemed to have astonishing defensive power. Soon after, the ferocious badger beast's huge tiger-sized body was wrapped in lightning. It was once again sent flying and fell to the ground. This time, the ferocious badger beast did not attack again. It curled up its body and rolled to the other end of the passage. Then, a black light flashed under its feet, and it disappeared from the other end of the passage. It actually ran away. The two confrontations between Lu Kuan and the ferocious badger beast were as fast as lightning. It almost ended in 2 or 3 breaths of time. Qin Yushu and Xiao Hongfei's divine senses were not much worse than Lu Kuan's. They were barely able to capture the ferocious badger beast's movements. However, the others were unable to do so. They only saw the ferocious badger beast's huge body disappear from its original place. Then, Lu Kuan's purple firmament rod flashed with 2 lightning attacks. Then, they discovered that the terrifying monster beast had left from the other end of the passage. Qin Yushu's complexion was somewhat pale as he said, "Junior brother, was that a ferocious badger beast?" Judging from the imposing manner of its attack, it was at least at the level of a rank 7 monster beast. Xiao Hongfei wiped the sweat from his forehead and withdrew the five-edged diamond ring in front of him. Although the ferocious badger beast target was Lu Kun in this narrow space, the pressure on him was still very great. "Hey, junior brother, what happened to you?" After Qin Yushu finished speaking, he looked at Lu Kun. However, he discovered that Lu Kun had lowered his head and was frowning. Following his gaze, he discovered that there was a bloody hole on Lu Kun's right thigh. Traces of demon chi were emitting from it. "Junior brother, you're injured." Lu Kun did not answer. Instead, he looked at Xiao Jin. The latter squeaked twice, informing him that the ferocious badger beast had left. Lu Kun slightly breathed a sigh of relief. His eyes flashed with a strange look. His left hand clenched the purple firmament rod and supported himself on the ground. His right hand stretched out 2 fingers and directly inserted them into the fist-sized bloody hole. Creak! An ear-piercing sound of friction could be heard. Lu Kun's fingers clamped out a sharp claw a few inches long from the bloody hole. Black demon chi was surging on the claw. Lu Kun glanced at it and stored it in his storage pouch. Then, a purple light circulated on his thigh. The remaining black demon chi was forced out of his body by his pure lightning, attributed Fa Li. The bloody hole also began to slowly heal. Lu Kun took a deep breath and slowly said, as expected of a ferocious badger beast, "Its battle instincts are so strong. It actually managed to launch a hidden attack without anyone noticing. If it wasn't for my strong physical defense and my bones being comparable to magic artifact materials, I'm afraid that one attack would have crippled my leg." Thinking about the few breaths of time they exchanged blows, Lu Kun's expression became heavy. "I never thought that Tian Renjia would be able to raise the ferocious badger beast's strength to such an extent. I'm afraid that its battle prowess isn't inferior to any rank 7 demon beast." He looked at the wound on his leg that was gradually healing. His eyes flashed with amazement. Furthermore, this ferocious badger beast doesn't have any demon spiritual energy in its body. It seems to be the purest demonic energy. Hearing this, Xiao Hongfei's pupil shrank. As if he thought of something terrifying, he said in horror, "I know, this ferocious badger beast has turned into a demonic beast." Demonic beast? Chapter 625. Xiao Hongfei cautiously glanced back and said, "Brother Lu, we better be careful of that demonic beast's sneak attack from behind." Although Lu Kun was very curious about the demonic beast, after hearing this, he nodded to Qin Yushu. The latter understood and patted the spirit beast pouch on his waist, and a majestic black gorilla appeared in the passage. The aura of the 5th grade demonic beast surged out. It was the black mountain ape, Dahe, that Qin Yushu brought back from Demon Spirit Island. Fortunately, this passage was relatively spacious. If it was the narrow terrain from before, it would have filled up the entire passage. Dahe happily looked at Lu Kun and let out an excited roar. Lu Kun patted Dahe's thick arm and said, "Brother Xiao, I will block the attacks at the front of the formation. The first layer of defense at the back is the peak of the mid-stage bronze armored corpse. Its defense is much stronger than mine. If we add Dahe, the Black Mountain Ape, to the back, we will be safe. Moreover, as long as the enemy approaches, Xiao Jin will be able to sense it and send out a warning. We can also prepare in advance." Xiao Hongfei walked to Dahe at the back of the formation, greatly increasing his sense of security. Lu Kun asked, "Brother Xiao, I have never heard of this demonic beast. May I know where it came from?" Xiao Hongfei composed himself and explained, "I also saw this demonic beast in an ancient book in the Shangqing sect. It is said that it is a demonic beast unique to the ancient demon race. At the same level, it is stronger than ordinary demonic beasts. Only some demonic beasts with extraordinary talent can be compared to it. However, demonic beasts have already died out in ancient times. According to Brother Lu, this demonic beast is a fierce badger beast, which means it was transformed into a demonic beast. Demonic beasts are unique to the ancient demon race. Only the ancient demon race can produce demonic beasts." At this point, Xiao Hongfei's face showed uneasiness and said, In other words, Tian Rinjia was not possessed by an ancient demon cultivator, but by an ancient demon race. Lu Kuan was even more puzzled and couldn't help but ask, "Brother Xiao, what is the difference between the ancient demon race and ancient demon cultivators?" Xiao Hongfei's face was slightly pale and said, "The ancient book doesn't say much. It only knows that the ancient demon race is a foreign race, and our human cultivators are mortal enemies. Moreover, the demonic cultivation methods of the human race were born from the demon race. As for the strength and magical abilities of the demon race, the ancient demon race, there is no record." When everyone heard Xiao Hongfei's description, they revealed a complicated expression. At this moment, they thought of the relationship between the Red Refining sect, the ancient demon clan, and the Red Refining demonic technique. This was especially true for Lu Kuan, who had killed Tian Rinjia on the Demon Island. Half of Tian Rinjia's body had been smashed into pieces and fell into the Silver Seal at the center of the Demon Island. Now, he could speculate that in the central area of the Demon Island, there was likely to be the remnant souls of the ancient demon clan. Tian Rinjia's body, which had not yet died, happened to be the medium of these ancient demon clan. In that case, the demon island that appears once every few hundred years. Could it be that the ancient human race existed to seal the ancient demon race? Our demon island is very similar to the demon island. The ancient demon race also came here. What is the connection between the two? Many questions suddenly appeared in Lu Kuan's mind, but then he shook his head. Now was not the time to think about these things. He looked around at the solemn faces of the others and calmly said, "Everyone, the fierce badger just now was extremely strong. In such a narrow place, its fighting strength was even higher than the Li brothers. I'm afraid that the strength of this demonic beast in the Devil Cave is second only to the ancient demon race. But have you ever thought that after we entered the Devil Cave, the first thing we encountered was such a powerful enemy? Where did the other cultivators go?" Hearing Lu Kuan's question, the others thought for a moment and revealed a look of disbelief. They sent out such a strong force all of a sudden. It was very likely that there were no other core formation cultivators in the Devil Cave who could send out such a powerful force. Lu Kuan's eyes revealed a trace of reminiscence. He muttered, "Maybe in this Devil Cave, besides this fierce badger, there's only the demon race that occupied Tian Rinjia's body left." Qin Yushu said in disbelief, "How is that possible? Junior Marshal Brother, didn't you say that no one entered the Devil Cave in the past few years? These people couldn't have disappeared into thin air." Lu Kuan said slowly, "I've seen a method similar to the Crimson Refining demonic technique. It collects a large amount of blood essence from late Qi refining stage cultivators and refines the blood pool, thereby providing a powerful Qi and blood energy to help cultivators reach the foundation establishment stage. When the Crimson Refining demonic technique enters the core formation stage, it also collects a large amount of blood essence from late foundation establishment stage cultivators. If Tian Rinjia was really possessed by the ancient demon race, then the Crimson Refining demonic technique must have been recovered by him. Why couldn't he use all the disciples of the Devil Cave as blood sacrifices to improve his cultivation? Lu Kuan's words were a bit of a leap for the others, but after entering the Devil Cave and seeing the fragmented situation in the passage, it was very likely that this was the case. Lu Kuan had such thoughts. Back then, old Ghost Morong, who lurked in the Iron Fist school, taught the Vajra incantation to the school's disciples. When these people's martial arts were successful, they would be killed and refined to help him reach the foundation establishment stage. This was very similar to the situation in the Devil Cave. Suddenly, Xiao Jin, who was sitting cross-legged on Zhao Qingtian's shoulder, called out again. Then, a black shadow flashed in front of the passage. The ferocious badger came again. Huh, it didn't attack? Xiao Hongfei had been on guard all this time. His spiritual sense detected the ferocious badger's departure. His eyes lit up, and he said, "This ferocious badger is definitely not a match for so many of us. Why don't we kill this ferocious badger first? Lu Kuan pondered for a moment, then shook his head and said, "The ferocious badger is known for its fighting instincts and is extremely intelligent. It wants us to chase after it. After all, with its speed in this passage, only Corpse Priest and I can catch up with it. As soon as Corpse Priest and I leave you, this cunning ferocious badger will attack you." Xiao Hongfei's expression froze. After thinking for a while, he realized that Lu Kuan was probably telling the truth. This was the ferocious badger's home ground, and it knew the passages inside the devil cave like the back of its hand. After suffering a loss just now, it would definitely change its strategy and not fight head-on. Qin Yushu suddenly chuckled. He patted Xiao Hongfei's shoulder and said, "Brother Xiao, we don't need to pay attention to this ferocious badger. We can continue to go deeper. According to our current formation, we have Lu Shidi in the front, and the middle-grade Bronze Armor Corps and the 5th-grade Black Mountain Ape behind us. It won't have an easy time. Besides, we are prepared. As long as Junior Brother and the Bronze Armored Corps block the first round of attacks, the magic weapons will be able to catch up. No matter how strong its defense is, it won't be able to withstand so many magic weapons." Lu Kuan nodded in agreement. But then, he thought of something and his expression changed slightly. "Not good. It seems we have to hurry. If the devil who occupied Tian Renjia's body really refined all the cultivators in the devil cave, it must be in secluded cultivation. The ferocious badger is stalling for time. Its secluded cultivation place must be the place with the densest devil chi. Let's go quickly." Hearing Lu Kuan's hurried tone, the others' expressions changed. They maintained their formation and continued to move forward quickly. At this time, the most nervous ones were Zhao Qingtian and the others. The Foundation establishment enemies they expected didn't appear. And if Lu Kuan's guess was right, there were only Tian Renjia and the ferocious badger here. They couldn't do anything at all. Lu Kuan was also helpless. He could only bring them along. They were body cultivators, and with Corpse Priest protection, they wouldn't be in too much danger. In this way, Lu Kuan and the others ignored the ferocious badger that appeared from time to time. They sensed the density of the devil chi in the air and gradually went deeper. Sure enough, as they expected, they didn't encounter any cultivators along the way. They passed through many passages similar to the one from before. There were remnants of the aura of magic formations in them. They were used by cultivators for secluded cultivation. Chapter 626. This was a spacious passage that was no less than 6 meters wide. At the other end of the passage was the vicious badger. At this time, it wasn't hiding, and it appeared openly in front of everyone. Obviously, it was guarding the barrier behind it. Lu Kuan's mind stirred, and he poured all the power of his spiritual energy into his eyes, causing them to emit a dazzling golden light that illuminated most of the passage. The fierce badger beast lived in the darkness of the devil's den all year round, so it subconsciously narrowed its eyes. However, Lu Kuan didn't look at the fierce badger beast. Instead, he stared at the blood-red restriction behind it. This restriction was different from the one in the devil's denver. It was placed here. Lu Kuan could barely see through it with his golden eye divine ability. He vaguely saw a figure wrapped in black chi sitting cross-legged in the cave behind the restriction. Looking at the isolation restriction, Lu Kuan didn't know why, but an ominous feeling rose in his heart. I heard the Li brothers say that this Tian Renji's cultivation is higher than theirs. Now that he has sacrificed everyone in the Devil's Den, it seems he really is trying to break through the bottleneck of the core formation realm and break through to the nascent soul realm. Now that the arrow has been knocked, we have to stop him from breaking through. Not to mention his identity as an ancient demon. Even if he were an ordinary nascent soul cultivator, we wouldn't have much chance of winning. A series of thoughts flashed through Lu Kuan's mind. Taking advantage of the fierce badger beast being distracted by its golden eye divine ability, he directly rushed forward with the purple firmament staff in his hand. This time, Lu Kuan directly used his full strength. His arms had already expanded by several times as he urged the divine ability to connect arms. His robes and sleeves were torn apart, and a surge of blood chi spread out. The rich demonic chi in the surroundings seemed to be affected and rippled endlessly. As the badger felt this aura, all of its purplish-black scales stood erect. Lu Kuan had erupted with his full strength, causing the badger to recall the situation on Demon Island, and fear began to grow in its heart. But at this time, it didn't have time to think. Lu Kuan's speed was even faster than it, making it difficult to dodge. An ominous glint flashed in the fierce badger's eyes. Its ferocious nature had been aroused. It didn't dodge. Instead, it waved its claws to meet the attack. Dang, dang, dang. In the dark passage, streaks of purple lightning and black radiance surged, accompanied by the sound of metal clashing. Lu Kuan and the fierce badger fiercely fought in such a narrow space. Strong winds blew in all directions in the tunnel, accompanied by the sound of thunder and the roars of wild beasts. Qin Yushu and the other core formation cultivators wore solemn expressions as they tried their best to use their divine sense to capture the figures of the man and the demonic beast. At the same time, they secretly activated their magic treasures, waiting for an opportunity to attack. Along the way, these people had already discussed a set of methods to deal with the fierce badger. Priest Corpse, who had been at the back of the troop, had now moved to the front of the troop, acting as the first line of defense for Qin Yushu and the others. Although Lu Kuan was in the front, the fierce badger could still use the attack it used to injure Lu Kuan. With this kind of long-range attack, it could launch a sneak attack on Qin Yushu and the others. Priest Corpse was only one step away from becoming a high-level bronze armored corpse. The defensive power of his muscles and bones was even higher than Lu Kuan's. The fierce badger's flying claw attack could injure Lu Kuan, but if it were to hit Priest Corpse, it would probably only break through some of his muscles. The figures of Lu Kuan and the fierce badger were twisting and turning in this tunnel. Sometimes they would appear on the cave wall, and sometimes in the air. The aftershock of the collision between the purple firmament staff and the fierce badger's claws stirred up the dense demonic chi in this area. The gusts of wind were as sharp as blades, scraping against the cave wall, producing whistling sounds. It could be said that this was the first time that Zhao Qingtian and the others had seen Lu Kuan use his full strength since he entered the Bone Treasure stage. That lightning-fast speed and the fierce wind generated by the surging strength dazzled the first generation of body cultivators. They wished they could immediately enter the Bone Treasure stage and have a close combat with this enemy who had the strength of a 7th-level demonic beast. Bang! The fierce badger's huge body was directly smashed against the restriction shield at the entrance of the cave. Although its fighting instincts were powerful and its speed was also extremely fast, in terms of strength, it was 50,000 kilograms weaker than Lu Kuan, who had used the arm-connecting divine ability. The ferocious badger used its scales ability to deflect force and its powerful body to exchange a few blows with Lu Kuan. Unfortunately, it was still unable to withstand Lu Kuan's overwhelming brute force due to the absolute disparity in strength. The fierce badger, which had been smashed against the restriction shield, let out an unwilling roar. Magic power surged from its forelimbs. Instantly, 10 sharp claws flew out of its body and darted towards Lu Kuan, who had just stood on the ground. At this moment, the fierce badger was at the entrance of the blood-red restriction shield, while Lu Kuan was in the middle of the tunnel. Behind him, Qin Yushu and the others were just right. Facing the 10 sharp claws of the fierce badger, Lu Kuan had to either step back or block them. But if he stepped back, so many attacks would shoot towards the group of people led by Priest Corpse. So many fast attacks were launched at once. Even with Priest Corpse's normal body, he could only block a part of them. Therefore, at this moment, Lu Kuan had no choice but to take them head-on. Lu Kuan had a deeper understanding of the fierce badger's fighting instinct. Under the situation of absolute disadvantage, this magical beast could still seize the opportunity to fight back. He snorted coldly. His entire body shone with a dazzling purple light, and a lightning-like protective shield appeared around his body. The treasure stage defensive thunder shield had become a layer of defense outside his body. He abruptly threw the purple cloud stick forward, then waved his incomparably thick arms, clenched his skull-sized fists, and punched towards the incoming claws. The fierce badger's long-range attacks were extremely fast. Lu Kuan couldn't rotate the purple cloud stick to defend himself, because the rotating speed of his stick couldn't compare with the speed of the claws. Therefore, doing so would only be futile. He wielded his fist to defend himself, but instead he was able to release the power of his incomparably fast body to the extreme. A few silvery noises came out. Lu Kuan's pair of fists had directly sent 6 claws flying away. Within a single moment, each of his fists had launched 3 attacks, leaving afterimages behind. The remaining 7 or 8 claws had penetrated Lu Kuan's defense and attacked his body, piercing through the defensive thunder shield and shattering his black cloak, exposing the silver inner armor underneath. This inner armor was made from god-level ores. Not only could it isolate the spirit sense, it could also completely defend against the attack of a middle-stage core formation cultivator. However, the power of these claws had reached late-stage core formation level, so they still managed to penetrate it. However, the remaining power of these claws wasn't much. They only managed to penetrate a few inches into Lu Kuan's muscles, then couldn't go any further. Except for the claws that Lu Kuan had blocked, the remaining 2 or 3 claws were also sent flying away by Priest Corpse. Currently, Priest Corpse's physical strength was even stronger than Lu Kuan's when he didn't use his arms. Therefore, it was more than enough for him to block the remaining claws. Lu Kuan swung his fists, not caring about the blood on them at all. Lightning flashed under his feet as he continued to rush forward. A moment ago, he took advantage of the moment when the badger launched its attack to throw the purple firmament staff like a javelin, accurately smashing into the badger's hind leg. In addition to the fact that it had been suppressed by Lu Kuan's brute force, this badger had already suffered light injuries, and its speed had also decreased. The badger dodged with difficulty once, but was blocked by Lu Kuan, who had rushed up and blocked its path. His incomparably ferocious and thick arms firmly pressed down on its tiger-sized back. The terrifying strength of 300,000 kilograms suppressed it to the point that it couldn't move. At this moment, a thick and solid Vajra ring flew over at lightning speed and directly smashed into the badger's head under its rather frightened gaze. At some unknown time, Xiao Hongfei had already used the combination of 5 treasures. The power of a complete set of magic treasures was fully displayed. Even if the badger's defense was extremely strong, it couldn't help but feel dizzy after being hit by this late-stage core formation level magic treasure. The strength of its 4 limbs unconsciously decreased a little. At this moment, Lu Kuan's huge palm grabbed the Vajra ring and directly wrapped it around the badger's neck. His left hand firmly pressed down on the badger's neck, while his right hand pulled on the Vajra ring. This huge hand, one from the front and one from the back, combined with the Vajra ring, wanted to use brute force to forcibly break the badger's neck. When the fierce badger beast suddenly received such an attack, its mouth unconsciously opened and its eyes bulged out. Its 4 limbs crazily kicked about. The explosive power that came from the desperate situation of life and death made Lu Kuan feel somewhat strained. Fortunately, he wasn't fighting alone. A long sword and a large saber followed closely behind. Mixed with the power of magic treasures, they pierced into the badger's open mouth. Although the badger's body was covered in purplish-black scales and had extremely high defensive power, the soft flesh in its mouth was clearly very fragile in the face of a core formation level magic treasure. These 2 magic treasures heavily injured the badger in an instant. Immediately after, an azure dagger flashed and aimed at the badger's bulging right eye. A small part of the dagger pierced into the badger's head, but it seemed to have encountered some kind of obstruction and couldn't pierce into its brain. Immediately after, a thick palm appeared and swung the dagger's hilt. Poochie! The entire azure dagger sank into the badger's head. Woo! Chapter 6:27. Just like that, Lu Kuan and the others killed this frighteningly powerful demonic beast with the strength of a 7th-grade demonic beast. Xiao Hongfei and the others were deeply moved when they, as early core formation cultivators, joined forces with Lu Kuan, a treasure bone stage body cultivator. Their battle prowess was almost doubled. If Xiao Hongfei and the others were to attack the badger alone, it would be almost impossible for their attacks to break through its purplish-black scales. Moreover, this demonic beast was so fast that even their magic treasures might not be able to hit it. Moreover, if it got close to them, they would be in danger. With their current strength, they couldn't take the attack of a late core formation cultivator head-on. And if Lu Kuan were to deal with this demonic beast alone, it wouldn't be so easy. Although Lu Kuan's strength suppressed the badger, its physical defense was extremely strong. Unless he used the divine arm connection ability together with the purple firmament rod and attacked it dozens of times, he might be able to kill it. But in this way, Lu Kuan's magic power would be exhausted. But with their cooperation, Lu Kuan only needed to restrict the badger's body and expose its weak points, allowing Qin Yushu and the others to attack together. Only then could they kill this frighteningly powerful demonic beast in such a short period of time and with the least consumption of magic power. When Lu Kuan saw that the ferocious badger had been completely annihilated, he withdrew his divine ability. Although this kind of powerful bloodline ability could increase one's strength by 50%, with Lu Kuan's current magic power, he could only launch about 40 attacks. This place was filled with demonic qi, preventing them from recovering their magic power. It could be said that every bit of magic power they used was a bit less. After all, there was still a terrifying enemy behind them, so they had to conserve their magic power. They had never heard of the ancient demonic race, so they didn't know what their battle prowess was like. But thinking about it, as long as it wasn't at the nascent soul stage and was still at the core formation stage, Lu Kuan and the others were confident that they could kill it in this narrow place. It only took them around 10 breaths to kill this level 7 magical beast, not to mention the fact that Priest Corpse, who was a peak-level middle-grade bronze shell zombie, hadn't even made his move yet. On top of that, Dahei's innate abilities as a black mountain ape didn't have much of an effect in the face of these devilish beasts. But in the face of these devilish beings, perhaps Dahei's abilities could be used in conjunction with his body integration stage sonic attacks. After everyone put away their magic treasures, Lu Kuan placed the badger's corpse into his storage pouch. He exhaled a mouthful of foul air, looked at the blood-red restriction at the entrance of the cave, and said in a deep voice, "Everyone, this trip to the Devil's Den was easier than expected. We only need to kill the last devil, and the danger of Monster Spirit Island will disappear. After we recuperate for a few hundred years, our overall strength will definitely increase, and our chances of revenge will be even greater." Hearing Lu Kuan's words, Xiao Hongfei said with some worry, "Brother Lu, the ancient demonic race was the enemy of mankind in ancient times. Their strength shouldn't be underestimated. Moreover, this guy still hasn't made a move yet. I feel a bit uneasy." Lu Kuan couldn't help but feel his heart skip a beat. He activated his golden eye again and looked at the figure sitting cross-legged behind the restriction. He clenched his teeth and said, "We can't waste any more time. This demon is still cultivating. If he enters the nascent soul stage, we'll be finished." After he finished speaking, Lu Kuan raised his purple cloud rod and began to attack the red seal. The core completion stage cultivators behind him all had serious expressions on their faces as they activated their magic treasures and began to attack the red seal. All kinds of magic treasures rumbled as 4 colored lights filled the tunnel. However, this blood-red restriction seemed to be very sturdy. Even after withstanding the attacks of so many core formation cultivators, the light of the restriction dissipated very slowly. Later on, Priest Corpse joined the fight as well. Sadly, the area of this cave entrance was relatively small. Therefore, after Priest Corpse and Lu Kuan stood outside the cave entrance, they didn't have any extra space for close combat. Therefore, Black could only stand aside and worry, without being able to offer any help. Zhao Qingtian and the others didn't need to be mentioned. They couldn't help either. Suddenly, Lu Kuan and Priest Corpse stopped. Qin Yushu and the others behind them also felt something, and their faces were filled with surprise. In their perception, the devil chi in the entire devil's den suddenly surged, and the entire ground seemed to be shaking. Then, from the tunnel behind them, waves of dense devil chi surged into the cave in front of them. The surging devil chi washed over their magic treasures like water extinguishing flames, causing the light of their magic treasures to dim by a lot. Even though there was a restriction between them, Lu Kuan and the others still felt that there was a terrifying and shocking aura brewing inside the cave. A faintly discernible spiritual pressure appeared from within. Not good. Such a big commotion. This devil is about to break through. Lu Kuan shouted, and the frequency of his attacks increased. However, he didn't use the arm connection divine ability. He had to preserve his strength. In this place, he was the most crucial battle force. Not only was his attack power strong, he could also control the enemy in close range and create opportunities for his teammates. Unfortunately, only Lu Kuan and Priest Corpse's attack power was still intact. Qin Yushu and the others' magic treasures were washed away by the devil chi, and their power was greatly reduced. Instead, their attack power was even lower than before. Do I have to use that move now? But after I use that move, the magic power in my body will be depleted. How will I face the final enemy? Just as Lu Kuan was hesitating, the light of the blood-red restriction in front of them suddenly dimmed, and half of the energy contained in it seemed to have been absorbed by the cave. In a few breaths of time, Lu Kuan and the others didn't need to attack. The restriction at the entrance of the cave quickly melted away, revealing the scene inside. What appeared in front of Lu Kuan and the others was darkness, filled with endless devil chi. The devil chi was so dense that it was almost tangible, and it gathered towards the figure in the middle. An indescribable spiritual pressure lingered on everyone's body, and even the magic power in their bodies was somewhat stagnant. Seeing such a shocking scene, even if they hadn't seen a nascent soul cultivator's breakthrough, they could guess that the devil in front of them had made a major breakthrough in his cultivation and was about to break through to the nascent soul stage. Without saying a word, Qin Yushu activated his 5 feathers universe saber, which had merged into one, and shot it towards the figure inside. However, this flying saber, which was comparable to a magic weapon, only shot out about 3 meters in the dense devil chi before its spiritual light greatly decreased, and its speed almost came to a halt. Seeing this scene, everyone's hearts sank. This meant that the devil chi inside the cave was extremely dense, and it repelled the energy outside the devil chi. Therefore, Qin Yushu's attack was greatly suppressed. It could be said that the dense devil chi inside the cave was a natural defense for cultivators like them who didn't cultivate devil arts. Lu Kuan felt more and more uneasy. If that person entered the nascent soul stage, they wouldn't be his opponent at all in this place filled with devil chi. They might even be wiped out. The most important thing now is to interfere with his breakthrough. Thinking of this, Lu Kuan didn't rush into the cave rashly. Instead, he quickly took out a trumpet-shaped bronze magic weapon. This was a special magic weapon that he had collected some soundproof materials to make. He had used it once when he killed the Li brothers, and its power was astonishing. At this moment, he placed this magic weapon in front of his mouth. The magic power in his internal organs surged and circulated, coordinating with the vocal cord muscles in his throat to adjust. Ah, 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 a sharp and ear-piercing sound wave entered the trumpet. This trumpet magic weapon, which was refined with soundproof materials, could gather Lu Kuan's sound into a line and spread it in all directions to the direction of the trumpet's opening, increasing its power through convergence. This sharp sound wave was like an invisible arrow that directly shot into the dense devil chi in front of them. It must be known that the sound wave that Lu Kuan released at this moment was purely the result of his internal organs being strengthened to the extreme and the vocal cord muscles erupting. It didn't contain any magic or spiritual power. Just like spiritual power, devil chi couldn't stop this kind of attack at all. allowing this sound wave to smoothly enter the depths of the devil chi. In an instant, the surrounding devil chi suddenly stagnated. The devil chi that was originally surging inwards seemed to have lost some kind of suction force and gradually dispersed outwards. The faintly discernible spiritual pressure also disappeared without a trace. Damn it, disturbing me from entering the devil infant stage. All of you deserve to die. A furious voice filled with resentment rang out, causing the surrounding devil chi to tremble. Chapter 628. As soon as Lu Kuan's voice fell, the demonic chi at the entrance of the cave that had yet to disperse suddenly condensed into a millstone-sized fist. It exuded a terrifying power that was no different from the attack of a late core formation cultivator. Lu Kuan was already prepared and didn't dare to be careless. His arms quickly expanded, and at the same time, the purple firmament rod in his hands suddenly expanded. Facing this huge demonic chi fist, he directly used the purple firmament rod to smash it. Boom! Lu Kuan's purple firmament rod's power of thunder and lightning couldn't resist at all. It was instantly wiped out by the surging demonic chi. He didn't know if it was an illusion, but this demonic chi fist was different from ordinary spells. It seemed to contain a terrifying brute force. Even if he used the connecting arm's divine ability, it was still a bit difficult to deal with. The demonic chi fist passed through the purple firmament rod and landed on Lu Kuan's body. The defensive thunder shield on the surface of his body instantly shattered, and a black light shone brightly. Then, Lu Kuan was sent flying and crashed into the stone wall outside the cave. At this time, a figure surrounded by demonic chi appeared at the entrance of the demonic chi cave. The demonic chi fist that had just disappeared into the figure's body like a swallow returning to its nest. As the demonic chi dissipated, the figure gradually revealed its true appearance. It was a middle-aged man. His appearance was no different from the Tianrenjia that Lu Kuan had seen many years ago. However, he had a pair of incomparably dark eyes. Perhaps it was because of his cultivation, but his naked upper body was very muscular, and there was a faint purple-black light circulating on the surface of his skin. When everyone saw the lower half of his body, they all sucked in a breath of cold air. The skin below his waist was covered in purple-black scales that were circulating with fluorescent light. They were thicker than the scales of the ferocious badger from before. Moreover, there was a small sinister bone spur on the knee joint of this person's purple-black legs. A fiendish aura was emitted from these legs, causing people to unconsciously feel their hair stand on end. This is the demon race. Lu Kuan felt his skin being corroded, and his expression was very ugly. The devil glanced at the crowd with his pitch-black eyes and said coldly, "You actually know about my sacred clan. It seems like the Li brothers were killed by you guys." Then, he looked at Lu Kuan, who had stood up again. A strange look flashed in his eyes as he said, "I remember you. You're the guy who killed Tianrenjia. You're a human who specializes in physical cultivation." He sighed and said, "I didn't expect that you would come knocking on my door before I even went looking for you. You've saved me a lot of trouble. You're probably the first human to cultivate the physical body. My sacred clan must kill you in the cradle." After this demon joined the Red Refining sect, he investigated a lot of information. Naturally, he knew that there was no body cultivator in the human immortal cultivation world. The man with abnormal arms in front of him was probably the first person. Lu Kuan was unmoved by the man's words. Lightning flashed under his feet. He didn't care about the wounds on his body and directly rushed up. This time, Lu Kuan once again activated the connecting arm's divine ability. At the same time, the purple firmament rod in his hand increased 2 to 3 times in size. This kind of attack would accelerate the consumption of his magic power. However, facing this unfathomable enemy, this was the only way he could have a chance of winning. Boom! Lu Kuan's rod slammed into the ground, directly blasting the soil into pieces, revealing the devil's den's restriction a few feet below. It seems that he really is a human who specializes in physical cultivation. However, what kind of divine ability is this pair of arms? It's so strange. His physical strength is actually much stronger than my sacred clan of the same level. The devil sensed the strength of Lu Kuan's attack and the killing intent in his heart sword. Lu Kuan's attack missed, and his face turned ugly. He didn't expect this devil to be so fast and easily dodge his attack. Suddenly, he saw a pair of purplish-black legs from the corner of his eye. He quickly changed the direction of his purple firmament rod and swung it to the right. Unexpectedly, the leg covered in purplish-black scales didn't dodge. Instead, it kicked towards Lu Kuan's purple firmament rod. You actually dare to take my attack head-on with your physical body? Lu Kuan was flabbergasted. He sensed that this devil was almost at the great circle of the core formation realm. However, even the devil from before didn't dare to take his attack head-on. Lu Kuan simply exerted his strength to the maximum. The purple firmament rod grew even thicker. This attack consumed at least 10% of Lu Kuan's magic power. Clang! The rod and the leg collided. Lu Kuan's hands trembled. He immediately felt a brute force more powerful than is transmitted through the purple firmament rod. The web between his thumb and forefinger suddenly ruptured, and he almost dropped the purple firmament rod. His entire body was sent flying and crashed in a cave wall. In midair, Lu Kuan was incomparably shocked. Where did this devil come from? Not only is he so fast, but his strength is also so terrifying. Could it be that the devil race specializes in cultivating their physical body? My senior martial brothers just retreated to the narrow passage from before. Although Corpse Priest is blocking the way, I have to entangle this devil and give him a chance to attack. These thoughts flashed through Lu Kuan's mind. Ignoring the shock to his body, he adjusted his body and pushed his legs against the cave wall. His leg muscles combined with the defensive lightning shield technique, and he shot out like an arrow. However, this time, he put away the purple firmament rod. What he needed to do now was to restrict the devil's movements, just like how he dealt with the devil from before. Compared to using weapons, it was easier to restrict the devil's body with his bare hands and four limbs and muscles. By then, the others would focus their attacks. This devil might end up like the devil from before, killed together. Seeing this, the devil sneered. With a shake of his legs, he suddenly disappeared from where he was and reappeared in front of Corpse Priest. Obviously, he knew that Lu Kuan's skin was thick and tough, so he might as well deal with the others first. Seeing Corpse Priest reach out his claws and face him head-on, the devil couldn't help but laugh out loud. A mere servant of a netherworld insect clan dares to fight with us, the Orthodox Holy Clan. The devil turned his body and swept one of his legs. His speed was as fast as lightning, and he directly bumped into the sharp claws of the copper-armored corpse. Bang! Sparks burst out from the claws of the copper-armored corpse. It seemed that he couldn't do anything to the devil's scaly legs at all. He was swept aside by the leg. Then, a stream of devil chi emerged from the devil's hand and transformed into a giant hand, pressing the copper-armored corpse against the cave wall. Even Lu Kuan's arm connection magic was suppressed by the devil's leg strength. Naturally, Corpse Priest had no power to resist. However, relying on his strong defense, he wasn't injured. Nevertheless, that giant hand of devil chi restrained him for a short time. When Corpse Priest was subdued with a single move, Qin Yushu's combined flying daggers and Xiao Hongfei's combined diamond rings had already been activated by them, striking towards the devil's upper body that wasn't covered in dark purple scales. Compared to the legs, the devil's upper body didn't have dark purple scales. Obviously, its defensive power was much weaker than the legs. Naturally, they would attack this weak spot. At the same time, Lu Kuan showed up behind this devil as well. His pair of strong hands were like a pair of palm leaf fans, swinging towards the devil's head. This devil's head didn't look much different from that of ordinary human beings, and didn't have dark purple scales either. Therefore, Lu Kuan immediately chose that weak spot to attack as well. During the moment when Corpse Priest seized the chance, Lu Kuan, Qin Yushu, and the others cooperated with each other, launching a pincer attack from the front and the back. At the moment, the devil had just entered the narrow tunnel, and the space for him to move to the left and right was extremely small. Being in such a situation, the devil slightly curved his mouth corners, showing a mocking smile. He flashed across the air, directly rushing towards Qin Yushu and the others. His pair of legs, which were covered in dark purple scales, was incomparably fast. He flashed swiftly in the tunnel, even leaving a few shreds of afterimages, dodging the attacks launched by Qin Yushu and the others in a row. Behind him, Lu Kuan's palms naturally missed as well. Behind him, Lu Kuan was dumbfounded. As a body cultivator, he naturally knew that to achieve such speed, the muscles of the legs must have reached an astonishing level of strength. At least, Lu Kuan couldn't achieve this at the moment. While the devil was moving forward, his hands surged with devil power, launching two huge devil hands behind him to block Lu Kuan, while his body continued to rush towards Qin Yushu and the others. The remaining core formation cultivators were very familiar with Lu Kuan's body cultivation. Seeing the devil's explosive speed, they naturally understood that it was the use of his legs. Zhu Xiaofeng and Lu Zhao's expressions were heavy. Without saying anything, they directly unleashed the power of their gold cores. The speed of the sword and the blade skyrocketed, darting close to the ground. In such an environment filled with devil qi, only by overdrawing their gold cores could they unleash the normal power of their magic treasures. Clang! Zhu Xiaofeng's long sword missed. Fortunately, Lu Zhao's long blade magic tool hit the devil's leg, exploding with a trace of sparks, and was sent flying. Even so, the devil's figure still paused. Xiao Hongfei's eyes were bloodshot. He knew that this was a moment of life and death. When the devil was dodging, he didn't hesitate to overdraw the power of his gold core, causing the magic power in his body to increase by a notch. The Vajra rings that the devil dodged trembled and split into 5 pieces. As if teleporting, they appeared on the devil's limbs and neck. For a moment, 5 rays of golden light shone. The devil's body seemed to be restricted and stopped. It turned out that Xiao Hongfei didn't hesitate to consume his vitality and used the full set of Vajra rings to control the enemy. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Qin Yushu and the others' magic treasures also turned around and fiercely smashed towards the devil's head. Seeing everyone's joint attack, the devil's eyes were still full of mockery. Devil chi surged in his limbs, and Xiao Hongfei's 5 Vajra rings were instantly dyed black. Xiao Hongfei suddenly revealed a look of disbelief. At this moment, his Vajra ring's magic treasure lost its connection. Then, a purple-black devil chi shield appeared around the devil's body, easily blocking the magic treasures of Qin Yushu and the others. In such an environment filled with devil chi, the power of everyone's magic treasures was greatly reduced. Facing this devil who had the aura of a perfected core formation cultivator, they couldn't even break the shield. Chapter 629. What should I do? Not only is this demon's physical body extremely strong, his pure demonic chi is at the peak of the core formation realm. In such an environment, where demonic chi is abundant, normal attacks cannot even break through a shield. Lu Kuan took out the purple firmament staff again and waved his arms, crazily hammering the 2 giant hands made of demonic chi in front of him. His mind was full of thoughts. From the beginning to the end, this guy only used his legs to attack. He didn't use his fists at all. Now that I think about it, when I broke Tian Rinjia into 2, wasn't it his lower body that was broken? Now, this guy's lower body is covered with demonic beast-like scales, while his upper body is still a normal human body. His upper body must be his weakness. I have to find a way to make his legs dangle in the air, then attack his upper body. Lu Kuan glanced at the narrow passage they were in and calculated in his mind. My strongest attack, combined with the purple firmament staff, only has the power for 1 attack. Then I only have 1 chance. Many thoughts flashed through his mind. He made a decision. At the same time, The giant hands made of demonic chi in front of him were about to be broken. But at this moment, the demon made a new move. The demon trembled slightly, and 5 black-dyed Vajra rings fell to the ground. He retracted the demonic power shield outside his body and covered his upper body. His exposed legs flashed quickly, and with the sound of air exploding, he kicked the other magic treasures away. From the loud roars in the air, one could feel that the strength of this leg was stronger than Lu Kuan's. Qin Yushu and the others all felt a strong force acting on their natal magic treasures. Because their minds were connected, their magic power was shaken. They couldn't help but groan, and blood flowed out of the corners of their mouths. With this delay, the demon had already arrived in front of Qin Yushu and Xiao Hongfei. With another sweep of his leg, accompanied by the sound of air exploding, the demon shattered their protective shields, which seemed weak in the dense demonic chi. Soon after, these 2 core formation cultivators, who were second only to Lu Kuan, were smashed against the stone wall by the remaining power of the purple-black devil leg. Then, just like Priest's corpse, they were pressed against the stone wall by 2 gigantic hands made of devil chi. At this time, the anxious Lu Kuan had already broken through the demon's hand and rushed behind the demon. The demon obviously sensed Lu Kuan's presence. The corners of his mouth curled up as he sped up. Using the same method, he easily pinned Zhu Xiaofeng and Lu Xiao to the stone wall. At the same time, he sent a devil hand behind him to restrain Lu Kuan's figure. He looked at Zhao Qingtian and the others, who were being protected by Dahe. The demon's face showed surprise. I didn't expect the blood and chi of these 5 little guys to be so vigorous. It's equivalent to the blood and chi of 5 core formation cultivators. Although you don't practice demonic arts, with so much core formation cultivators' blood and chi, it's enough for me to break through to the demon infant stage again. Hearing this, Lu Kuan's face turned ashen. His eyes flashed with anger. This time, he didn't try to break up the devil hand in front of him. Instead, he flew up and used the stone wall of the passage to move through the gaps between the fingers of the devil hand. He wanted to leap to the front of the demon. The devil sneered, but just as he was about to make a move, Big Black, the black mountain ape, suddenly let out a roar. At the same time, its hands abruptly expanded, and it activated the vast fist divine ability, pounding its fists on its chest. An invisible wave spread out in all directions. This wave hit the stone wall and unexpectedly bounced back. It rushed to the demon's invisible wave and merged with it, increasing its power. In an instant, it hit the demon's body. The demon's shield was penetrated and couldn't stop this invisible wave. The demon's figure stagnated. His eyes were full of disbelief. Lu Kuan, who was behind him, didn't seem to be affected even though the power of Dahe's divine ability increased. Maybe it was because he was activating the long-arm divine ability. Instead, he took this opportunity and quickly jumped to the sky above the demon. My blood is boiling violently. I can't control it. This is impossible. This is obviously the long-armed giant ape's divine ability. How can this black-haired ape be a long-armed giant ape? The demon roared in his heart. His face was full of disbelief. It was as if he couldn't believe that Dahe could release this divine ability. No, I have to destroy this ape demon first. Just as the demon squatted down and was about to raise his leg to attack, a trace of blood flowed out of the corner of Dahe's mouth. He raised his fists again and activated the second divine ability. The invisible wave rushed out again and interrupted the demon's attack. However, Dahe's second forced activation of the divine ability caused his aura to become very weak, and he collapsed to the ground. As for Zhao Qingtian and the others behind him, they had already been affected by this indiscriminate attack the moment Blackie released its innate ability for the first time. Their physical bodies were far inferior to the class 5 Demon Beast Dahe. In addition, this divine ability was amplified several times in this narrow passage full of restrictions. Except for Xiao Jin, who was unaffected, everyone else's blood was boiling. They couldn't control themselves and collapsed. Dahe's interruption allowed Lu Kuan to smoothly appear in front of the demon. At this moment, Lu Kuan had also become a little different. The steel-like muscles all over his body were covered with streaks of blood. It was as if his entire body was wrapped in blood. Core formation stage cultivators could overdraft the power of their Jindan. As a bone treasure stage body cultivator, Lu Kuan had of course researched the same method. That was to explode the essence and blood of his physical body. The pure blood gave the muscles all over his body a strong power. Although it couldn't increase his physical strength by much, it caused his speed to increase sharply. He held the purple firmament rod and from bottom to top, leaving behind afterimages. He quickly hit the lower edge of the demon's shield that only covered the upper body. Although he couldn't break the shield, the force easily lifted the demon's body off the ground. Immediately after, the purple firmament rod's volume inflated as if it was filled with air. In a short moment, it grew into an incomparably thick pillar. Lu Kuan stared at the demon with his bloodshot eyes. His mouth was facing the demon's head, and he roared out a sharp sound wave. At the same time, his incomparably thick arm hugged the pillar-like purple firmament rod and fiercely hit the demon's chest. At this moment, although there was no trumpet artifact amplification, but at such a close distance, the power of the sound wave attack was not weak at all. Moreover, Lu Kuan's exploding essence and blood had also covered his internal organs, so this sound wave had more endurance. The indiscriminate aftermath of the sound wave shattered the eardrums of Qin Yushu and the others who were under control. Their ears overflowed with blood, and their bodies were also seriously injured. Although the demon recovered from the control of Dahe's magical ability, he was immediately bombarded by Lu Kuan's sound wave head-on. His magical shield obviously couldn't resist the sound. The ear-piercing sound made the demon feel a buzzing in his head. His powerful divine sense wasn't affected, and the magical power in his body was still operating, but his body couldn't move for a while. This demon's upper body was that of a human, so it was inevitable that he had the same auditory and muscular nervous system as humans. Although the sound wave couldn't damage his brain, the sharp tone inevitably affected his nervous system. Therefore, when he was hit by Lu Kuan's pillar, he could only maintain the existence of his magical shield. His powerful legs couldn't resist. Lu Kuan's sharp screams continued, and he didn't care about the bleeding in his lungs. From the beginning of the fight with the demon, he had been holding his breath. The strength he was proud of couldn't be used at all under the demon's strange legs. He was completely suppressed in the first few rounds of fighting. Now that Dahe had overdrawn his physical body and released 2 innate magical abilities, he had created such an opportunity. How could he not make good use of it? He decisively burned all the essence and blood in his body. Lu Kuan's blood-red legs quickly left behind countless afterimages. Together with the sound of thunder, he rushed forward crazily with the purple firmament pillar in his arms. At this moment, his full burst of speed was almost the same as the demon's. Amidst the ear-piercing screams, Lu Kuan rushed into the deepest part of the demon Chi cave. Chapter 630. After the loud explosion disappeared, Xiao Jin grabbed Zhao Qingtian's clothes. The monkey's face was full of anxiety. Other than it, the others were either restrained or fell to the ground. Dahe, who was in front of it, had used its innate ability once. Its body was already exhausted. It could only look helplessly at the little monkey as it lay on the ground, panting. As for Zhao Qingtian and the other disciples of the body cultivator generation, although they were not hit by the devil's attack, Blackie's top-notch control ability, which had been strengthened, attacked them indiscriminately. Lu Kuan knew the effect of Dahe's ability when he was on the Demon Island. As long as one's body was weaker than Dahe's, the blood in their body would boil uncontrollably and they would lose control of their body. For immortal cultivators, they would not be able to use their mana. Zhao Qingtian and the others were the closest to Dahe. Because of the passage's restriction, they were hit twice by the enhanced ability. Their blood was already boiling. After entering the blood condensation stage, their blood was especially sensitive. After Zhao Qingtian and the others suffered 2 hits, they felt their bodies go limp and they fell to the ground. Compared to these body cultivator disciples, Qin Yushu and the other 3 normal core formation cultivators were even more miserable. When they were first defeated by the devil, their bodies were severely injured. Later on, Dahe's ability was blocked by the devil and the remaining power was reduced. However, their bodies were even more fragile. The damage they suffered was no less than Zhao Qingtian and the others. What hurt them the most was Lu Kuan's sharp soundwave attack. The few of them were controlled by the devil's hand and couldn't use their mana. They couldn't use their soundproof shields and were hit by the sharp sound waves. Other than Qin Yushu, who was slightly better, the others had their eardrums broken and lost their hearing. Fortunately, these were not life-threatening for the time being. As long as Qin Yushu and the others spent a few years recuperating, they would naturally be able to recover. Seeing that everyone was still alive, Xiao Jin did not look happy. It shook its light, golden ears and looked into the depths of the cave that was shrouded in demonic qi. The worry in its eyes grew stronger. Through the spirit ear divine ability, the little monkey could hear 2 hearts beating in the depths of the cave. Clearly, there were 2 living beings inside. That demon was hit by Lu Kuan's terrifying attack, but he didn't die. The little monkey and Lu Kuan were telepathically connected. Naturally, they knew that after Lu Kuan unleashed that attack, all of his mana was almost depleted. Thus, he was unable to use the power of connecting arms. Furthermore, he had burned a large amount of blood essence earlier, so his physical body must be exhausted to the extreme. Whether or not he could continue fighting was another matter altogether. He must be in a dangerous situation right now. Creak, creak, creak. Xiao Jin's surprised voice could be heard. It turned out that it found out that Priest Corpse had broken free from the giant hand. As a peak-level middle-grade bronze shell zombie, Priest Corpse's defensive power was even greater than Lu Kuan's. Just now, the demon only managed to force him back and temporarily control him. As time passed, Priest Corpse had successfully broken the giant hand in front of him and regained the ability to move. Without Xiao Jin's reminder, Priest Corpse rushed into the depths of the cave. Lu Kuan's spirit power had merged with Priest Corpse's soul. If Lu Kuan died, Priest Corpse's spirit power would perish as well. Once Ji Hao entered the cave, Priest Corpse saw everything inside. This cave was rather large, tens of zhang in radius. The most eye-catching thing was a black pool in the middle of the cave. All the dense demonic qi in the cave came from this pool. Beside the pool, Lu Kuan was half kneeling on the ground. The purple cloud stick, which had returned to its original shape, was gripped by Lu Kuan with both of his hands, supporting himself against the ground to prevent his body from falling down. At the moment, Lu Kuan's entire arm had disappeared. Not even an inch of clean skin was left on his body. Streams of blood had been flowing out from almost every single pore of his body. He was completely covered in blood. Although his body was extremely weak, Lu Kuan's bloodshot eyes were still filled with an unyielding look, staring straight ahead. Naturally, that demon was right in front of him. What made Priest Corpse even more frightened was that this demon didn't seem to be injured at all. Moreover, the sense of power released from his body was even stronger than before. His human-like upper body was now covered in scales, just like his legs. A few inches long bone spur had grown out of his wrist and elbow, making him look incomparably ferocious, like a human-shaped monster. However, compared to his lower body, the new scales on his upper body seemed to be much thinner. You're indeed not a simple human being. Apart from cultivating your physical body, you also have a special kind of monkey spirit creature and an underworld bug as your servant. If it were an ordinary holy creature at the same level, I'm afraid he wouldn't be a match for you. Once the demon's voice faded, his body flashed across the air, darting towards Priest Corpse, who had just come in. His limbs moved swiftly like a gust of wind. A few shreds of afterimages appeared, circling around Priest Corpse. Within a blink of an eye, the demon launched a series of attacks. The bone spurs on his body struck on Priest Corpse's body, leaving streaks of scratches on his black muscles. The demon seemed to be able to deal with Priest Corpse with ease. While attacking, he said proudly, "I am the dark, evil devil king of the holy kind. Although my soul is attached to a human body, this body has already been modified by me. Half of it is the body of a devil king. Now, I've been refining it for so many years. Even a level 8 beast can't rival my legs head-on. Although that attack you launched just now was almost as powerful as a casual attack launched by nascent soul-level magic treasure, facing the body of a devil king, you can't do anything. The power of our holy kind is simply beyond the imagination of the current humankind." While talking, more and more wounds appeared on Priest Corpse's black muscles, gradually exposing his shiny bronze-colored bones. Boom! The demon swung his leg and punched on Priest Corpse's chest. Along with a series of bone-cracking sounds, Priest Corpse was directly sent flying against the wall of the cave, slowly falling to the ground. Within the time it took for the demon to finish speaking, countless wounds appeared on Priest Corpse's black muscles, which were powerful enough to resist the power of magic treasures. A part of his bones, which had been refined by Lu Kuan, was also shattered. Facing the full-strength attack of the demon, this powerful bronze-armored corpse didn't have any power to fight back. Lu Kuan's face was filled with despair. He had been cultivating his body for so long, so of course he could tell that the demon was telling the truth. Judging from the process of the demon's attack on Priest Corpse, the strength of the demon's upper body was not bad. Most importantly, the strength of his legs was definitely far greater than 300,000 kilograms. Lu Kuan estimated that his legs had a terrifying strength of 400,000 kilograms. The power of each of his legs was equal to the power of a nascent soul-level magic treasure. Even if Priest Corpse entered the ranks of high-level bronze armor corpses, he still wouldn't be able to resist this level of power. The demon, who had attacked with all his strength, was extremely powerful. In this narrow cave, he was even stronger than an ordinary early nascent soul-level cultivator. After dealing with Priest Corpse, the demon shook his legs and threw the black flesh on the bone spurs on the ground. Speaking of which, I still have to thank you. Previously, even if you didn't disturb me, it would still be somewhat difficult for me to return to the demon infant stage. After all, half of my body is still human. Now, with the blood essence of so many core formation level cultivators and your nascent soul level blood food, I'll be able to break through the bottleneck and enter the demon infant stage. At that time, I won't have to worry about nascent soul level human cultivators. Hearing this, Lu Kuan couldn't help but want to stand up and resist. However, along with the bursting of several blood vessels, he fell down again. At this moment, his magic power was exhausted, and more than half of his blood essence was burned. His magic power and body had no power to resist. He was truly in a desperate situation. The demon glanced at Lu Kuan contemptuously and said to himself, "This guy cultivates thunder, attribute magic power. His flesh and blood are not suitable for me to directly absorb. Let the true demon chi wash away the magic power in his body first. When a human soul enters the true demon pool, it will be annihilated by the true demon chi. This saves me the trouble of doing it." Chapter 631. Lu Kuan felt weak all over. This was the first time he had used this method of burning his essence and blood to increase his speed. He did not expect that it would bring about such a huge after effect. In his weakened state, it was very difficult for him to even move a finger. He could only be kicked into the water of the true demon pool without any resistance. Unable to move his limbs, he sank directly. As soon as he entered the so-called true demon pool, Lu Kuan felt a large amount of brutal thoughts rushing towards his brain from all directions, directly attacking his soul. His soul was like a small boat in the waves, unable to resist the vast sea of thoughts. Feeling the danger, Lu Kuan immediately activated the concealment ability of the hidden spiritual root. He hid his consciousness and soul and disappeared into the sea of consciousness, causing the brutal attack to miss. It really works. A glimmer of hope emerged in Lu Kuan's heart. His hidden spiritual root was quite strange and had helped him countless times. The first time was when he was at the Iron Fist School. It allowed him to escape the Murong Old Ghost Soul sealing technique. Later, when the other nascent soul stage cultivator was unable to deal with the demonic aura in the valley, Lu Kuan also relied on this ability to freely enter and exit the valley, unaffected by the strange thoughts in the valley. Not long ago, the reason why Lu Kuan dared to place a consciousness restriction on Xiao Hongfei and rope him in was also because of this ability, which could avoid the counteracting force of the consciousness restriction. Up until now, relying on the concealment ability of his soul, this so-called true demon pool water was unable to erase his soul. Even so, I am still at death's door. The spiritual power in my body has been exhausted, and I need time to replenish my essence and blood. Otherwise, my strength will not be restored, and I will still have no fighting power. Lu Kuan's heart sank again. His skin could already feel the cold black pool water slowly corroding his flesh, and at the same time entering his body through his bleeding pores. The surging devil qi surged in his body. The little bit of magic power left in his muscles, bones, and internal organs was destroyed as easily as dry weeds and rotten wood. It was like a flame meeting a heavy rain, completely wiped out. I'm afraid this pool of water is devil qi in liquid form. If it's demonic qi, I can still use the demon attraction technique to absorb it. But if it's devil qi, I don't have any method to absorb it. Could it be that I, Lu Kuan, will fall here? Thinking of this, a golden light appeared in the depths of Lu Kuan's eyes. He recalled the experiences of the past 100 years, and a sense of unwillingness rose from the bottom of his heart. No, how can I, Lu Kuan, die like this? I haven't even investigated the matter of that woman, and I haven't avenged my sex elders. I've only walked a small part of the path of body cultivation. There are still many realms of the physical body waiting for me to discover. Me, how can he die? A raging flame ignited in Lu Kuan's heart, and an unyielding will emerge from the depths of his soul. The remaining blood in his body began to circulate unconsciously, converging towards his heart. He didn't want to give up like this. If the remaining blood burst out in one go, part of his muscles and nerves could be mobilized. When the devil race attacked him, his heart would stimulate the remaining blood, and he would at least have the strength to strike once. Just as Lu Kuan's blood began to circulate, the surrounding true devil pool water seemed to have discovered something and surged even more violently into Lu Kuan's body. Most of it passed through Lu Kuan's previous wounds and entered his blood vessels. At this moment, Lu Kuan didn't notice that the golden light in the depths of his eyes had suddenly become pitch black. Outside the true devil pool, after the male demon race sensed Lu Kuan's soul dissipating, he raised his head and glanced at the silver barrier above the cave, which was dyed with a layer of blood. The true devil qi is the purest energy in our holy world. Even the 3 sacred sects of the human race back then couldn't do anything about it. They could only use this 9 revolutions demon spirit array to slowly dissolve it. After so many years, a large amount of spiritual qi and demonic qi have been consumed, and even formed a unique astronomical phenomenon in the chaotic sea, but only half of the true devil pool water has been destroyed. Speaking up to here, a trace of fear flashed through the male demon race's eyes. Although it's difficult to destroy the true devil qi, the large-scale 9 revolutions demon spirit array can completely erase the experts of our holy race. Back then, there were 8 devil kings sealed with me, the Black Fiend, and 2 devil emperors. Nearly 100,000 years have passed, and only 1 devil king managed to escape with the help of the demon race. As for me, the Black Fiend Devil King, because of the special nature of my soul, I was able to survive under the sacrifice of the Devil Emperor and the other Devil Kings. In the end, I was able to wait until the Devil King made a move and left that place. The large-scale 9 Revolutions Demon Spirit Array uses dense spiritual chi and demonic chi to suppress the devil chi. At the same time, it uses the power of restrictions to destroy the bodies and souls of our holy race. The bodies of the other Devil Kings were almost destroyed, but the bodies of the 2 Devil Emperors were forcefully reduced from the Devil Emperor level to below the Devil King level. Before I escaped, I used the true Devil Chi to refine the bodies of the 2 Devil Emperors, barely reaching the level of a Devil King, and formed the lower half of Tian Renge's body. Otherwise, my cultivation wouldn't have been able to recover so quickly. The Black Fiend Devil King composed himself, and the purple scales on his upper body gradually dissipated. The bone spurs on his wrists and elbows also retracted, and his upper body returned to the appearance of a normal human. He looked at Lu Kuan, who was submerged in the true devil pool, and sighed with emotion. This human is truly a genius. He actually cultivated the body of a devil core cultivator. If the human race had such a cultivation method back then, they wouldn't have been inferior to the monster race. And this kid is also an anomaly. That strike was so powerful that it forced me to use a secret technique to activate the power of the Devil King's body to protect myself. That's why I was unharmed. The Devil Kings of the Holy Race can fight the Monster Kings with their bodies alone. Even human soul formation cultivators can't defeat a Devil King of the Holy Race in a one-on-one battle. With the power of the Devil King's body, I'm not afraid of ordinary early-stage nascent soul cultivators. When I successfully enter the Devil Infant stage, I'll be able to completely merge with the Devil King's body. Even late-stage nascent soul cultivators won't be able to do anything to me. When that time comes, I'll be able to secretly, while thinking Black Fiend arrived in front of Priest Corpse. He shook his head and sank into his memories. For his broken soul, some memories were too old, and it would take some time to track them down. Zombies, the Netherbug clan. Black Fiend's eyes revealed a look of deep recollection. If it weren't for the Netherbug clan's tricks, our holy race wouldn't have been defeated so easily. The Netherbug clan's plan also failed. Although they created the zombie clan, they tried to use the temptation of longevity to divide the human race. But they didn't expect the high-grade human cultivators to be so vicious. Those humans directly incited a large number of low-grade cultivators to turn into zombies. A large number of low-grade zombies consumed more than half of the Een energy that the Netherbug clan spent so much effort to convert into this world. And these low-grade cultivators were nothing but cannon fodder. Even if they turned into zombies, their battle prowess was limited. Naturally, they couldn't defeat the high-grade cultivators. Without the Een energy, the Netherbug clan had no choice but to retreat. Black Fiend looked at Priest Corpse, whose body was heavily injured, and thought to himself, this core formation level zombie is quite useful to me. When I search for the ruins of the Netherbug clan in the future, he might come in handy. As soon as he finished speaking, Black Fiend's spirit sense rushed out of his body and rushed towards Priest Corpse's head, intending to forcibly subdue him. This soul restriction seems to be a technique of the human race. Well, after so many years, the human race would naturally study zombies in depth. This zombie is under the control of that kid. It seems that he enslaved it. Thinking of this, Black Fiend suddenly felt that something was wrong. Didn't that kid's soul vanish in the true demon pool? Why is the restriction in the zombie's brain still there? Could it be that he's still alive? Black Fiend couldn't help but turn his head and look at the true demon pool behind him. Chapter 632. At the same time, Dahe, who was struggling to stand up, and Xiao Jin, who was urging Zhao Qingtian and the others to attack the devilish hand, all looked at the cave. At this moment, the two apes both felt a tremor deep in their bloodlines. An indescribable fear appeared in their hearts. At this moment, the yellow hair of the little monkey stood straight up in fright. Its eyes were filled with fear and confusion. The fear was because this indescribable fear gave it the illusion that it was facing its natural enemy. As for the confusion, it was because the little monkey found a trace of inexplicable familiarity in this fear. This trace of familiarity was what it felt from Lu Kuan's bloodline. After Priest Corpse went in, the little monkey had been listening to the situation with its spirit ears. It heard everything that happened in the cave. It knew that the abominable demon race had amazing strength. Lu Kuan's previous attack did not hurt the other party at all. In the end, in its weakened state, it could only be beaten into the true demon pool in the mouth of the demon race without any resistance. The devilish being couldn't sense Lu Kuan's soul, but Xiao Jin could sense that Lu Kuan was still alive. However, its power couldn't do much. The only thing it could do was to save Qin Yushu and the other core formation cultivators as soon as possible. It didn't expect that after falling into the true devil pool, Lu Kuan would release such a terrifying bloodline power after only a short while. Knowing that it was Lu Kuan, the little monkey was excited. Its hair that was standing on end gradually recovered. It jumped onto Dahei's body, grabbed its ear, and squeaked in a low voice, trying to make Dahei understand what was going on. The Black Mountain ape had finally recovered some of its strength. Of course, it had to seize the time to break the devilish hand outside Qin Yushu and the others. Although Zhao, Qin Tian, and the others had recovered their fighting power, they couldn't do anything to the late-stage core formation devilish hand. Black Fiend Demon King looked at the boiling true demon pool with a serious expression. The scene of the boiling true demon pool seemed familiar to him, but it was too long ago for him to remember. As for the movements of the little monkey and the others outside, they naturally couldn't hide it from him. However, he didn't care about the people outside. They were just normal core formation cultivators. Even if he didn't use the power of the Demon King's body, he could deal with them with his demonic Dao techniques. The changes in the true demon pond's water were what he needed to pay attention to. Moreover, knowing that Lu Kuan hadn't died made him feel a little uneasy. That brat is a human, and he even cultivates a lightning attribute cultivation method. How could he possibly trigger a change in the true devil pool's water? Could it be that this person has a unique treasure of our sacred clan? Many thoughts appeared in Heisha's mind. At the same time, his figure flashed to the edge of the pool. The true devil pool's water was formed by true devil chi. Even Hei Fiend's divine sense had no way of probing inside, too. He could only use his naked eyes to observe. Just as Black Fiend reached the edge of the pool, the true devil pool stopped boiling. He couldn't help but look over. Suddenly, two thick palms the size of a human head appeared from the pool and slapped the edge of the pool, sending out waves of demonic chi. This pair of huge palms were covered with black hair. It wasn't something that a human could have. Seeing this, Heisha's pupil shrank. If you remember correctly, Lu Kuan's arms had mutated into palms similar to this. But even if this human had activated this strange arm technique again, why would there be long black hair on his hands? Then, the pair of palms shrank slightly, and a huge black shadow jumped out of the pool. Heisha had been vigilant. His body reacted quickly and dodged to the side. The huge black shadow was extremely fast, bringing with it a gust of demonic chi. It was already standing in Heisha's original position, and Heisha could see the true face of the black shadow. At this moment, Heisha's face became very shocked. The black shadow in front of him was a huge 8-foot-tall ape. The black hair on its body was steaming with dense demonic chi. Its entire body was filled with terrifying muscles like lumps of meat. Especially this ape's arms, which were thicker than its thighs and took up more than half of its body, hanging down to its knees. This ape's eyes were crimson red, and an extremely brutal aura was emitted from it. Long-armed giant ape? No, it should be long-armed demonic ape. Heisha's ancient memories suddenly surfaced, and his face was filled with disbelief. This is impossible. Isn't it a human kid inside? Why would a long-armed demonic ape appear? And as far as I know, the long-armed demonic apes transformed by that lord are all dead. It's impossible for any of them to survive. Heisha's mind was in a mess. This huge ape filled with demonic chi didn't care about what Heisha was thinking. Its blood-red eyes stared at him. The ferocious mouth opened, and the dense demonic chi on its body instantly formed a black ape shadow more than 10 feet tall, enveloping the demonic ape. This shadow also opened its mouth. Roar! A terrifying wave shot out from the demonic ape's mouth. This huge shadow also turned into a black light at this moment and merged into it. Heisha's speed wasn't as fast as the speed of sound. He didn't have time to dodge at all, and was hit by this invisible wave. His face was filled with shock. His lips trembled slightly, as if he wanted to say something. However, his body seemed to be paralyzed, and he couldn't move at all. After the demonic ape roared out this attack, its body shrunk a little, and it became about the size of an ordinary human. Its eyes were blood-red, like a burning flame. It gasped for air and rushed directly to Heisha. Its thick arms, which occupied more than half of its body, picked up Heisha's feet. It used Heisha, who couldn't move, like a windmill, madly smashing him to the ground. Bang! 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 Even though the soil on the ground had been refined by the true demonic chi for many years and was like a material for crafting tools, it was still smashed by a terrifying force. Solid stone chips flew everywhere, and waves of air-cracking sound were heard. One of the stones hit Priest Corpse, who was in a corner, and left a deep wound on his black skin. Seeing this, Priest Corpse showed an extreme fear in his eyes. In his head, Lu Kuan's soul seal was clearly telling him that this terrifying demonic ape in front of him was indeed Lu Kuan. Looking at the new wound on his body, Priest Corpse couldn't imagine how terrifyingly powerful this demonic ape, which seemed to be transformed from Lu Kuan, could be. But soon, Priest Corpse found that after the demonic ape swung the stone chips for a few times, the power of the stone chips flying in all directions was gradually weakened. A while later, the solid stone ground didn't crack again. The demonic ape stopped. At this moment, the head of Heisha's body was smashed, and the upper body of Heisha was blurry. Heisha's sternum was broken into a few pieces. As for his internal organs, for some unknown reason, they had already become puddles of blood flowing out from his chest. However, his lower body, which was covered in purple scales, was perfectly unharmed. After putting down the black fiend's body, the demonic ape's blood-red eyes dimmed a little. It shook its head and looked at the surroundings. Then it wobbled toward the purple firmament staff and the storage bag. However, once it walked to the purple cloud staff, the demonic ape seemed to have run out of power and directly fell down. Chapter 633. When Lu Kuan recovered his human body and just fell down, a green ball of light suddenly floated out of the incomplete body of the black demon. A human face was faintly visible on it. As soon as the ball of light appeared, it rushed impatiently toward Lu Kuan's body. The green ball of light was the remnant soul of the Black Demon King. His soul was special. Not only could it seize the body of a human, but it could also seize the body of a human 3 times. Ordinary demons could only seize the body of a human 2 times. The black demon's soul looked at Lu Kuan's muscular body, and the green light trembled. That move just now was definitely the magical skill of the long-armed demon ape. Heaven-piercing roar. Tian Renjia's body and internal organs are too fragile. In the face of such a penetrating shock attack, they were directly shaken into a pool of blood. Since he can use the innate magical skill of the long-armed demon ape, there is no doubt that he has the bloodline of the long-armed demon ape. Although I don't know why this human boy has the bloodline of the long-armed demon ape, such a body is just prepared for me. This body is completely different from that of an ordinary human. Even compared to the sacred clan of the Devil Core stage, it is much stronger. Coupled with the bloodline of the long-armed demon ape, I may be able to master the magical skill of the long-armed demon ape. The green ball man's expression became more and more excited. My soul has lost, and I have fallen from the Demon King realm, but I am still comparable to a nascent soul stage cultivator. It is more than enough to seize the body of a human in the Gold Core stage. With a stronger body, coupled with the remnant body of the Demon King and the remaining water of the true demon pool, although it will take a few more decades to enter the demon infant stage, my combat power will be greatly enhanced in the future. I will be more confident in completing the task entrusted by the Demon Emperor. Thinking of this, the green ball of soul sped up and drew a green arc in the cave. In the blink of an eye, it arrived outside of Lu Kuan's naked body. But at this moment, beside Lu Kuan, a storage bag suddenly trembled. A dazzling white light shot out from the mouth of the bag and enveloped the green ball of soul at an incredible speed. Then, the white light was like a piece of cloth, wrapping around it layer by layer. Such a shocking change stunned the green ball of soul. Then, it let out a mournful cry of resentment. Yuan School. The soul of the black evil spirit quickly changed its form into a line, trying to slip through the gaps of the white light. However, he didn't know what kind of energy this white light was, but no matter how the green ball changed, it still bound it tightly, making it unable to escape. I'm not reconciled. How can there be Yuan School Soul absorbing Jade Pen in here? In a short while, Heisha's soul was wrapped tightly by the white light and was taken into a jade pendant in the storage bag. The cave was completely silent. After the time it took to brew a cup of tea, Xiao Jin tiptoed into the cave and stretched his neck to look inside. Through the dense devil chi, he could vaguely see the scene inside. Lu Kuan was completely naked. He was lying next to a circular pool in the middle. His storage pouch and purple firmament rod were scattered on the ground. As for Priest Corpse, he was tremblingly standing with his hands against the wall. His black muscles were covered in wounds, and his arms were even slightly deformed. As for the devil, only a broken corpse was left, quietly lying on the ground. Seeing this scene, the little monkey was relieved. It used all four limbs to quickly rush to Lu Kuan's side and turn him over. Looking at his unconscious face, it immediately patted with its hands, trying to wake Lu Kuan up. After a while, Qin Yushu's face was pale. Controlling his five-feathered universe blade, he cautiously walked in. He saw the corpse of the devil at first glance and was relieved. Then Qin Yushu saw Lu Kuan, who was like a dead fish, and Xiao Jin, who was trying to wake Lu Kuan up. His heart tightened, and he couldn't help but say, "Xiao Jin, what happened to Lu Shitty? His life isn't in danger, right?" The little monkey shook its head and squeaked twice. Qin Yushu hurriedly walked forward. After approaching, his spirit sense sensed Lu Kuan's life aura. Only then did he feel relieved. Then, he hurriedly walked out and sent a message to the rest of the people. "The devil is dead, and Lu Shitty is fine. Let's explore the cave and get ready to leave. The devil chi here is too dense. If we stay for too long, our injuries will worsen." Then, the others also walked into the cave. The first thing they saw was the broken corpse of the devil. However, they were afraid, and no one went to observe it closely. The devil killed them all in 2 or 3 moves. The nascent soul stage fighting strength he displayed made them feel despair. They also felt that Lu Kuan was more and more unfathomable. Even such an enemy could be defeated. When they were outside, they had almost lost their hearing. Their spirit sense was also limited in the cave, so they didn't know that Lu Kuan had turned into a devil ape. Although Xiao Jin and Dahe could sense Lu Kuan's bloodline, they didn't know how Lu Kuan killed the devil ape. Only the corpse priest witnessed the process of Lu Kuan's transformation. Now that the devil ape was dead, Qin Yushu and the other core formation stage cultivators started to carefully observe the cave. What attracted their attention the most was the devil's pool in the middle. Just by approaching it, the 4 core formation stage cultivators could feel the magic power in their bodies shrinking. They couldn't even release simple spells. When they sent out a strand of their spirit sense to explore the devil's pool, before they could even get close, they were destroyed by a brutal force. Immediately, they gave up the idea of exploring the devil's pool. Qin Yushu said with a nervous expression, "This pool is too strange. It seems to be condensed from pure devil chi. It's suppressing us greatly." Let's explore the other places and leave. Everyone agreed. Next, Dahe carried Lu Kuan on his shoulder. Xiao Jin packed up Lu Kuan's storage pouch and purple firmament rod. Then, he sent the corpse priest into the spirit beast pouch. The rest of the people walked around the cave and found 20 to 30 storage pouches. After a little investigation, they knew that they were the belongings of the Red Refining Sect's disciples. Then, they put them away. Qin Yushu also picked up the large amount of purplish-black gravel on the floor of the cave. With his eyesight, he could naturally detect the dense devil qi in these gravel. They were excellent materials for refining devil, Dao, celestial artifacts. As for the devil's corpse, everyone discussed and decided to leave it here. After all, they didn't know anything about the ancient devil's divine ability. If the devil's corpse had other hidden methods and secretly attacked them, they couldn't guarantee that they could resist it. Just like this, the group went back the way they came and walked toward the exit of the cave. They gradually found that the current cave was a little different from before. Originally, the color of the restrictions on the walls of the passage was blood red, but now it was gradually changing to silver. This scene made Qin Yushu and the others puzzled. They couldn't help but speed up. Compared to entering, the exit was much faster. In less than an hour, they arrived at the previous seawater passage. Qin Yushu used the method Lu Kuan taught him to activate the Devil's Cave's seabed exit and left the Devil's Cave. In this battle, Xiao Jin didn't participate in the battle and was unscathed. Zhao, Qin Tian, and the other disciples of the body cultivator generation only suffered some physical injuries. Dahe, on the other hand, suffered a great loss of vitality. As for Qin Yushu and the other core formation cultivators, their bodies were all stained with blood. Their ears were almost deaf. Their muscles and bones were more or less damaged. Moreover, in addition to Qin Yushu, Xiao Hongfei, Zhu Xiaofeng, and Lu Xiao all used the secret technique to stimulate their potential. They overdrew their gold core's origin. It would take at least several years to heal. Out of the sea, everyone took out a few flying boats and flew straight to the direction of the Demon Spirit Island. Almost at the same time, in the deepest cave house of the Red Refining Sect Valley, Tu Tiansheng, the nascent soul stage cultivator who was cultivating, suddenly opened his eyes. He showed an unbelievable look and quickly walked to a secret room in the cave house. In this secret room, there were about 20 divine soul tokens neatly arranged, but at this time, a crack appeared on each token. Chapter 634. Spring passed and autumn came. It had been a year since Lu Kuan and the others solved the Devil's Denver. In the past year, the warrior's holy city had developed steadily. Many martial artists without spirit roots had improved greatly after cultivating the Azure Water Art. The various missions in the warrior's holy city were also open to martial artists without spirit roots who cultivated the Azure Water Art. The Azure Water Art was born from the Vajra Art, so spirit stones were also excellent cultivation resources for these martial artists. Although they couldn't complete the missions that required them to kill demonic beasts, there were other missions in the warrior's holy city that could reward spirit stones. These missions allowed them to spread the name of the warrior's holy city in the secular world, attracting more martial artists with excellent aptitudes to come. Spreading the name of the city was nothing more than allowing these martial artists who had improved greatly to participate in the battles of the martial arts world, kill a top expert who was causing trouble, or participate in the martial arts convention. Finally, after attracting everyone's attention, they would wave their sleeves and leave, leaving behind only the legend of the warrior's holy city. Throughout the mission, there would be a recording of the image stone refined by the sect. This kind of image stone was very simple for the treasure pavilion to refine, and like a storage bag, it could be used by controlling a little spirit chi. After these martial artists completed the mission, they would return with the image stone to report. Of course, only the martial artists with outstanding results would be recognized and rewarded with spirit stones. In the past year, the warrior's holy city had become a legend in the secular martial arts world of the Chu country's Shiyuan state. It was said that it was a martial artist paradise, including the top experts of the martial arts world, and had the most powerful cultivation techniques. What attracted the attention of the secular martial artists was that the warrior's holy city was researching the pinnacle of martial arts. It was said that the powerful martial artists in the holy city could even contend with cultivators. Just this alone attracted many martial artists who pursued higher realms. Unfortunately, the martial artists from the warrior's holy city were very experienced and had high cultivation techniques. Most martial artists couldn't follow them, so naturally, they didn't know where the warrior's holy city was. However, in the Shiyuan state, there were still some martial artists who relied on their powerful strength to find the Five-Claw Mountain range. The number of martial artists in the warrior's holy city also began to increase. In the chaotic ocean, the Eight Spirit Valley, at the center of the Demon Island, inside Lu Kuan's cave. Lu Kuan's upper body was naked as he sat cross-legged in the middle of the secret chamber. Around him were a mess of medicinal pills and herbs. There were even quite a few poisons that emitted a foul stench. At this moment, Xiao Jin was standing nervously at the entrance of the secret room. His two little paws were holding the circular formation plate, and there was a hint of fear in his eyes as he looked at Lu Kuan in the middle. Suddenly, Lu Kuan, who was sitting cross-legged in the center, opened his eyes. His eyes were completely red, filled with rage and bloodthirst. If an ordinary mortal were to be stared at by this gaze, they would probably immediately lose their minds. Lu Kuan, who had opened his eyes, was frowning. His body was trembling, as if he was enduring something. Xiao Jin, who was at the entrance of the secret chamber, was also getting more and more nervous. Spiritual energy appeared on his claws, and he was ready to activate the array plate at any time. Roar! Lu Kuan raised his head and let out a roar. His body, which was originally sitting cross-legged, also stood up. His hands hammered his chest twice, and then he crazily pounded the ground. That roar was filled with rage, which made the little monkey panic. However, it still didn't activate the array plate. After a quarter of an hour, Lu Kuan finally calmed down. The red light in his eyes also gradually dissipated, revealing a relieved expression. I didn't think that I would spend a year to condense all my blood essence into the depths of my bones. That bloodthirst will finally no longer affect me. Lu Kuan looked at his body and smiled bitterly. It all started a year ago, when Lu Kuan and the others returned to the Demon Island. It took him a full 3 days to wake up. He listened to Xiao Jin's description and communicated with Priest Corpse through his divine sense. Only then did he know what happened. He transformed into a devil ape in the devil's pool and used a terrifying sound wave attack to control the body of the devil. Then, he used absolute strength to smash it to death. As for the soul of the devil who wanted to possess his body, it was also wrapped up by the strange Yuan jade pendant in his storage bag. Although the whole process was beyond Lu Kuan's expectations, in the end, the devil was dealt with. Without the threat of the devil's den, Lu Kuan's goal was achieved. Next, Lu Kuan began to check the condition of his body. He found that the blood in his body had unknowingly turned purple-black. The purple-black luster was the same as the scales of the devil. The blood essence that was almost completely burned by him in the devil's den was also unbelievably recovered. Apart from some of his muscles and bones being injured, his physical body was almost unharmed. However, all of his magic power had been completely depleted. In order to understand the situation of the purple-black blood, Lu Kuan subconsciously absorbed the spiritual energy of heaven and earth in an attempt to recover his magic power. The cultivation of the bone treasure stage required the absorption of magic power from the outside world through the thunder attribute imprint in the bones, and then through the bones and blood to circulate. During the whole process, the spiritual energy will be transported by the blood in Lu Kuan's body. But just as he was absorbing the spiritual energy, a strange change occurred. The purple-black blood in Lu Kuan's body, as soon as it encountered a large amount of spiritual energy, began to churn. The blood in his body instantly boiled, and then an extremely brutal intent emerged from the blood. This intent directly affected Lu Kuan's soul. At that moment, he was dominated by this brutal intent and only wanted to destroy everything he saw. Although Lu Kuan did not have any magic power in his body, his strength of 200,000 Jin was still terrifying. With one blow, he seriously injured Zhao Qingtian, who was taking care of him. If Xiao Jin had not awakened Lu Kuan through the power of his bloodline, and if Lu Kuan had not immediately activated the divine sense concealing ability, he would have lost his consciousness and directly killed Zhao Qingtian. Lu Kuan stood in the secret room and recalled the scene from a year ago. He couldn't help but break out in cold sweat. Even though he had used a divine ability to hide his divine sense, that will still tried to control his blood, making it difficult for him to control himself. However, if the purple-black blood did not come into contact with the spiritual energy, it would calm down, and the brutal intent would gradually dissipate. Lu Kuan's eyes revealed a trace of relief. Fortunately, in the storage bag of the red refining sect, I found a real red refining demonic technique. The unique blood refining technique inside, combined with my experience of breaking through the bone treasure stage, I finally deduced a method that can condense the essence of my blood and store it in the depths of my bones in the form of crystallization of magic power. Now that the strange purple-black blood essence has been condensed and sealed in my bones, the blood of my blood vessels has returned to its normal red color. The rich power of qi and blood has also been hidden. While Lu Kuan was thinking alone, the little monkey also noticed his changes and happily scurried over. It squeaked and congratulated Lu Kuan for solving the hidden danger of his bloodline. Lu Kuan looked at the naughty little monkey and smiled bitterly. Xiao Jin, although the hidden danger of the blood has been temporarily solved, the essence of the mutated bloodline is stored in my bones. In other words, I can't cultivate magic power in my bones at the moment. Now, I have lost the magic power of the core formation stage. In the muscles and internal organs, I can store liquid magic power, but the blood will be generated and circulated in the bone marrow. In order to prevent the brutal intent from appearing, it is best not to store magic power in the blood. If there is purple-black blood essence that is brought out by the blood circulation, I have to continue to condense it. Lu Kuan sighed. This time his loss was too great. Sigh, I better try how much magic power my body can hold. Chapter 635. After a few days, Lu Kuan finally woke up from his cultivation state, revealing a worried expression. Seeing this, the little monkey at the side hurriedly jumped over and squeaked worriedly. The Fa that Lu Kuan revealed right now was almost at the level of Great Circle of Foundation Establishment. He stroked Xiao Jin's head and sighed. I didn't think that reality would be worse than I predicted. Although my Fa is at the level of Great Circle of Foundation Establishment, the Fa that I can use to assist a body cultivator in battle is only at the level of Foundation Establishment. Lu Kuan murmured. After entering the blood condensation stage, the body cultivator's Fa is transported through the blood. Only this way can it be stored in the internal organs. Although I've condensed the hidden danger in the blood into the depths of the bones, when using the blood to transport Fa Li and Ling Qi, there's still a great chance of triggering that brutal intent. This causes the speed of storing Fa Li in the internal organs to be very slow. Moreover, every once in a while, I have to use the secret technique again to check the blood. Lu Kuan slowly stood up and paced back and forth in the secret room. He felt a bit of a headache. Before, when he was at the level of Great Circle of Viscera Forging stage, his muscles, bones, blood, and internal organs were all filled with liquid Fa Li. His Fa Li storage was twice that of an ordinary Great Circle of Foundation Establishment cultivator. After entering the Bone Treasure stage, his tyrannical core formation stage Fa Li was all stored in his bones. Now, his bones and blood were unable to store Fa Li. The remaining liquid Fa Li that could be stored in his muscles and internal organs was about the same as an ordinary great circle of foundation establishment cultivator. Body cultivators' strongest attacks now are the magic tools and magic treasures in their hands. But without the medium of blood, even if I have the internal organs FA-ly, I can't inject it into my hands. Lu Kuan murmured, so what I can use in battle is only the early foundation establishment level FA-ly in my muscles. My strength has greatly decreased. The FA-ly stored in the internal organs can only be used like an ordinary cultivator to release spells and activate magic tools from a distance. The essence of my blood has been sealed by me, so I can't use the divine arm ability. According to Priest Corpse's memory, the devil ape he transformed into back in the devil cave was terrifyingly powerful. Not to mention that sound wave attack he launched, the physical strength of his body was probably far greater than Lu Kuan's arm strength. However, not only did Lu Kuan not know how to activate the devil ape transformation, the aftereffects were also terrifying. Squeak, squeak. Xiao Jin couldn't help but comfort Lu Kuan when she saw the changes in his expression. When Lu Kuan heard this, he was slightly taken aback. Then, he said self-deprecatingly, "You're right. I was greedy. If it wasn't for the devil ape transformation, I'm afraid I would have lost my life. Now it's just that my spiritual power is restricted. My physical body is still at the treasure bone stage." Lu Kuan's eyes gradually brightened. Body cultivators specialize in the cultivation of the physical body. Mana is only supplementary. I have a strength of 200,000 pounds. Just by relying on my physical body, I can still resist a core formation cultivator. What I should focus on should be the cultivation of the bone treasure stage, not the gain or loss of FA-ly. The key is to let the bones become a magic weapon as soon as possible. However, I still have to find a way to solve the blood essence in the bones. After thinking for a while, Lu Kuan took a storage bag on the ground into his hand. Then, a milky white jade pendant flew out from it. The jade pendant was imprinted with the ancient character Yuan. Between the two characters, there was also a round green ball looming. Lu Kuan said to himself, "I've already gotten rid of the danger. I won't be controlled by this devil soul. Maybe I can even find out the real solution." Then he urged the spiritual power of the peak of the intermediate core formation stage. A small trace of it was divided into the Yuan jade pendant in front of him. After his spiritual power entered the jade pendant, he came to a room-sized space. In the center of this white space, there was a huge green ball shrouded in white mist. This green ball seemed to feel something. A slightly proud old voice came, "Kid, you should know now that there is the true devil intent you can't continue to cultivate. As long as you let me out, I will tell you the solution." Lu Kuan's divine sense looked at the Demon King's divine soul that was bound tightly and said faintly, "Old man, the true demon will you speak of has been sealed by me. It can't affect me." The demonic soul said disdainfully, "If you were cultivating a demonic Tao technique, I might have believed you. But your thunder attribute mana is even more resistant to the true demonic intent. It is impossible for you to resolve the true demonic intent." Lu Kuan said slowly, "You also know that I cultivate my physical body. My physical body is strong, so naturally I have a unique control over blood. There's another way to solve this problem." Then, Lu Kuan briefly explained his method of condensing blood essence. After listening, the devil soul was silent. As the devil race's devil king, his physical body was once even stronger. After listening to Lu Kuan's simple explanation, he naturally knew that this method was feasible. However, the Black Fiend Devil Soul did not know that Lu Kuan's spiritual power was in his bones. This method was equivalent to abolishing half of his spiritual power cultivation. After a while, the Devil's Soul said calmly, "Since you have solved the problem, what are you doing here? Are you showing off to me?" Lu Kuan said, "Although my method can solve the problem, the true devil intent is still in my body. Therefore, I am still interested in your previous transaction." Hearing this, the devil's soul was shocked. "Are you serious? But I can't let you go." The Black Fiend Devil's soul snorted. In that case, I will not directly tell you the solution. Lu Kuan's mind moved, listening to your words. Are you indirectly telling me the solution? The Black Fiend Devil's soul said. That's right. Lu Kuan probed. Then tell me your method. I will try it first. Otherwise, how will I know if it will work? The Black Fiend Devil Soul was silent for a while, then slowly said, Your blood has been soaked in the true Devil Chi and activated the long-armed demon ape bloodline, causing your blood to completely transform. It has the true devil intent and is very similar to our devil race's blood. Lu Kuan firmly memorized the words long-armed demon ape. Although he did not know the difference between it and the long-armed giant ape with the devil soul here, he would find out sooner or later. The Black Fiend Devil Soul did not know what Lu Kuan was thinking and said, Such blood is the top talent for cultivating the blood demon art of the blood refining sect. The blood demon art is a modified version of the saint race's cultivation method. It is suitable for humans to cultivate the devil path cultivation method. The true devil intent can assist the cultivation of the blood demon art. Lu Kuan murmured, Blood demon art. That's right. Unfortunately, the blood refining sect has kept this cultivation method a secret. It is almost impossible for outsiders to obtain it. However, this demon king has already placed a pawn in it. As long as you obediently follow my instructions, you will naturally be able to obtain the blood demon art through this pawn. From there, you can use the secret technique of the blood demon art to solve the hidden danger of the true devil intent. I have explained so much. You should believe me now, Lu Kuan said calmly. Then what do you want? I will tell you what I want you to do when we reach the state of Qi. After hearing this, Lu Kuan's soul directly withdrew from the Yuan Jade pendant, which confused the Black Fiend Devil Soul. He did not know whether Lu Kuan agreed or not. Chapter 636. After Lu Kuan withdrew his consciousness from the jade pendant, his eyes glowed with joy. The devil path cultivation method originated from the ancient devil clan. Naturally, it has the means to deal with the true devil intent, not to mention the famous blood devil technique. This devil's soul shouldn't be lying. Although Lu Kuan had never gone deep into the Qi kingdom, he was no stranger to the blood refining sect. In the past, the Miraculous Gate had allied with the blood-refining sect to intimidate other sects after destroying the Yang clan. Moreover, the red-refining sect that Lu Kuan wanted to deal with had a similar name to the blood-refining sect. Naturally, he had investigated the blood-refining sect in the Abyss Market. He knew that the blood devil technique was the blood-refining sect's cultivation method. Its most powerful ability was to cultivate devil attribute magic power, referred to as magic power, in the blood. Coupled with the magic power in the Dantian, the magic power of the blood devil technique's magic power far exceeded that of the same level. The great cultivator of the blood refining sect, Old Devil Pang, relied on the blood devil technique to create a great reputation. His strength was definitely not comparable to an ordinary late nascent soul stage cultivator. Various thoughts flashed through Lu Kuan's mind. I must get the blood devil technique. The devil soul doesn't know about my body cultivation method and divine sense concealment technique. I can still successfully sneak into the blood refining sect without his help. Getting the blood devil technique from other people is not as reliable as getting it from the blood refining sect. Suddenly, Lu Kuan's expression stagnated as if he had thought of something. He muttered incoherently, and at the same time, the magic power in his body unconsciously surged. Then, a faint red light flashed in his eyes. Such a scene made Xiao Jin beside him panic. He unconsciously took a few steps back, thinking that Lu Kuan was going to act up again. Unexpectedly, the red light dissipated after a few breaths, and Lu Kuan's magic power was also withdrawn. Why didn't I think of it before? He suddenly laughed out loud, and his expression became excited. The blood devil technique is likely to be a great opportunity for me. It is an opportunity to perfect the bone treasure stage body cultivation method. Just now, when his expression changed and his magic power surged, it was because he thought of the great use of the blood demon technique. Long before attacking the Devil's Den, Lu Kuan had found a cultivation method to accelerate the formation of bone treasures through his research on the power of Coldine. That was to cooperate with Priest Corpse and strengthen Ji Hao's bones with the energy generated by the mutual destruction between the power and the cold power. Sadly, the biggest weakness of this method was that it was extremely inefficient. This cold power was sent into Ji Hao's body through Priest Corpse and would be weakened by Lu Kuan's muscles, blood and bones layer by layer. Only a small amount of this cold power truly entered deep into Lu Kuan's bones. At that time, Lu Kuan had guessed that if his blood could store cold Yin energy, he could directly transport this foreign energy into his bones. This way, the cold Yin energy would not be wasted and would directly enter his bones. However, Lu Kuan had no idea how to use blood to transport the cold Yin energy. A year ago, during the battle in the Devil's Den, when he fought against the devil beasts and demons, and when he finally entered the true devil pool, Lu Kuan discovered that magic power and cold Yin energy were the same. They could annihilate his magic power and produce destructive energy to temper his body. However, how to use blood to produce and transport magic power was a huge problem. When Lu Kuan first cultivated the Vajra incantation, he used spiritual energy to temper his body. Then, relying on some opportunities, he comprehended the 5 elements body cultivation method. These were all orthodox magic powers of the 5 elements. As for magic power and cold Yin energy, they were completely incompatible with magic power. Naturally, he had no way to deal with them. Therefore, the blood demon technique, which could cultivate magic power in blood, became his hope. According to the outside world, the secret ability of the blood demon technique was to cultivate magic power in blood. According to the devil's soul, the quality of his blood was very suitable for cultivating the blood demon technique. According to this inference, as long as he obtained the blood demon technique, not only would he be able to solve the hidden dangers in his blood, but he would also be able to cultivate magic power in his blood. At that time, he would first cultivate lightning magic power and store it in his bones. Then, he would cultivate magic power in his blood and use his blood to transport magic power to the depths of his bones. When magic power and magic power collided on a large scale, it would produce a huge amount of destructive energy, and the efficiency of tempering his bones would reach the peak. It would be many times faster than high-grade bronze-armored corpses transporting cold Yin energy from the outside world. Of course, these were all Lu Kuan's inferences. As for whether this method was feasible, he would only know after obtaining the blood demon technique. Next, Lu Kuan pondered for an entire day and night before walking out of the cave. He then discussed with Qin Yushu and the others for half a day. Then, he went to the northwest corner of Demon Spirit Island. This place was covered by a huge barrier. The barrier only had a simple defensive function, and its biggest use was to isolate spiritual energy. A bolt of lightning flashed in Lu Kuan's hand, tearing a gap in the white barrier and slowly walking in. The scene inside was completely different from the outside. There were rocks and broken insect-like limbs everywhere. The spiritual energy was extremely thin, and a rather dense, cold energy filled this space of more than 300 meters. In the middle was a huge cocoon where the cold Yin energy came from. Inside the cocoon was a zombie with black muscles and a powerful aura. It was Daoist corpse, but now his aura was even more powerful, completely comparable to a late core formation cultivator. It was unknown when he became a high-grade bronze-armored corpse. In the past year, you've absorbed most of the cold Yin energy in the cocoon. As expected, you've entered the ranks of high-grade, bronze-armored corpses. However, you'll need to follow my disciple for a while. Hearing Lu Kuan's words, Daoist corpse nodded. His figure flashed and arrived in front of him, turning into a black light and entering the spirit beast pouch on his waist. Lu Kuan looked at the cocoon and the scattered insect limbs and muttered, "I'll leave these here." Then, Lu Kuan greeted the Black Mountain Ape in the demonic aura area and asked Xiao Jin to stay. Only then did he leave Demon Spirit Island. Although Lu Kuan didn't have the magic power of a core formation cultivator, the magic power of a Great Circle Foundation establishment cultivator, and the spirit sense of a peak core formation cultivator could still allow him to fly. He went directly to the Warrior Saint City and gathered the body cultivator disciples. After giving them instructions, he left Daoist corpse to Zhao Qingtian. This time, Lu Kuan wanted to infiltrate the blood refining sect. A core cultivation method, like the blood demon art, could only be passed on to the core disciples. It wasn't something that could be obtained in a short few years. Lu Kuan was wanted by the Miraculous Gate, so the blood refining sect, which had formed an alliance with him, would definitely have information about him. Just to be safe, he couldn't bring Xiao Jin with him. The little monkey was currently in the viscera forging stage and needed a lot of time to cultivate. Accompanying him to the blood refining sect would only delay his cultivation. Moreover, Xiao Jin had taken the initiative to stay. If he didn't seize the time to cultivate, it would be difficult for him to help Lu Kuan in the future. He couldn't even participate in the Battle of the Devil Cave a year ago. As for Daoist corpse, he was naturally left as a trump card for Zhao Qingtian and the others. A high-grade bronze armored corpse was in existence on the same level as a late core formation cultivator. If the opportunity was right, he could even kill a late core formation cultivator. With this arrangement, Lu Kuan was completely relieved. As for the cultivation of the first-generation disciples, they didn't need his help for the time being. Whether it was the blood condensation stage or the viscera forging stage, they both needed a lot of time to cultivate. According to Lu Kuan's estimation, even if Zhao Qingtian and Sher Chao had enough poison to assist them, it would still take them 40 to 50 years to reach the Great Circle of Body Tempering stage. That was when he would be needed. Lu Kuan was the founder of the body cultivation method. With his personal help, Zhao Qingtian and the others would have a much higher chance of entering the bone treasure stage. Chapter 637. The state of Qi was located to the north of the state of Wei and the state of Chu. Its territory was extremely vast, much larger than the two states combined. However, such a vast immortal cultivation country was only composed of 4 major states, namely the North, South, East, and West provinces. The West province was naturally located in the western part of the state of Qi. It was adjacent to the Dead Sea and the state of Chu's West province. It was the largest of the 4 provinces. There were all kinds of Devil Dao sects and clans here, and there were over 100 of them. Due to the large number of sects in the western region of the state of Qi, the competition for resources was fierce. Fights between fiendish cultivators could be seen everywhere. However, the most powerful cultivators in these sects were at most in the early and middle stages of the nascent soul realm. There was not a single cultivator in the late stages of the nascent soul realm. The situation in the other prefectures of the state of Qi was slightly different. The northern prefecture was adjacent to the western prefecture, and there weren't many Devil Dao sects there. The largest sect there was called the Seven Fiends sect, and the other sects in the northern prefecture were all vassals of the Seven Fiends sect. The strength of the Seven Fiends sect was extremely terrifying. They had many nascent soul stage cultivators. Not only was the sect's grand elder in the late nascent soul stage, there were also 7 core nascent soul stage elders who were known as the Seven Fiends Demon Lords. It was said that these 7 nascent soul cultivators practiced the Seven Fiends sect's top techniques. When the 7 of them worked together, they could easily defeat a grand cultivator. As a result, the Seven Fiends sect had 2 nascent soul late-stage cultivators. The entire northern region was under their control. The northern region was ruled by the Seven Fiends sect. The eastern region, which bordered the northern region, was similar to the northern region. However, there was only one sect in the eastern region, which was called the Holy Yin-Yang sect. From top to bottom, the Yin-Yang sect was governed by a religious system. All of the sect's disciples were called followers, and the core cultivation method was called the Yin-Yang Devil Technique. The entire Yin-Yang sect had a unified belief. They worshipped the Tao of Yin-Yang dual cultivation. They believed that the fusion of Yin-Yang energy between a man and a woman was the Tao of immortal cultivation. There were many nascent soul stage devil cultivators in the sacred religion. The two sect leaders were even late nascent soul stage great cultivators. They were called Sacred Lord Yin and Sacred Lord Yang. The remaining southern region was naturally the territory of the blood-refining sect. In addition to the blood-refining sect, there were many demon Tao families and small sects in the southern region. They were all subordinate sects of the blood-refining sect. Although Old Devil Pang was the only late-stage nascent soul cultivator in the blood-refining sect, his combat prowess was much stronger than ordinary nascent soul cultivators because of the blood devil technique. Furthermore, there were several mid-nascent soul stage elders in the sect who were also cultivating the blood devil arts, and their magic power was far beyond that of their peers. If they were to join forces, they would also be able to battle a great cultivator. Therefore, the blood-refining sect was recognized as the strongest sect in the state of Qi, followed by the Yin-Yang sect and the Seven Fiends sect. Generally speaking, the three demon sects of the state of Qi were at the highest level. Those demon sects that didn't want to belong to them could only squeeze into the western region to snatch the limited demon Tao resources. Of course, there were many rogue cultivators in the cracks of the major demon sects. Among them, there were even rogue cultivators in the nascent soul stage. Somewhere in the southern continent of the state of Qi, there was a valley with a radius of 5 kilometers. The entire valley was shrouded in a blood-red mist, as if it was a forbidden array. This valley was very famous among the low-level cultivators in the southern region. It was called Blood Mist Valley. The Blood Mist Valley was built by the blood-refining sect. The restriction that enveloped the Blood Mist Valley was a great formation that they had specially set up. It was called the Blood Spirit Samsara Formation. It was rumored that this formation could automatically absorb the flesh and blood of low-level immortal cultivators as a defensive force. In theory, the denser the blood Qi, the stronger the defense. Unfortunately, the formation in the blood-refining sect's hands was incomplete. It could only absorb the blood Qi of cultivators below the foundation establishment stage. However, if a Qi condensation stage cultivator activated their magic power to protect themselves, they could resist it. Therefore, the incomplete blood spirit samsara formation didn't have much value. Of course, there are no useless formations, only smart cultivators. The blood refining sect had set up this great formation here to form the Blood Mist Valley. It was perfect for selecting disciples. The Blood Mist Valley would be open for an indefinite period of time. As long as 100 rogue cultivators in the Qi condensation stage were gathered, the blood refining sect stationed outside the valley would activate the formation to enter the valley. After these rogue cultivators entered the valley, the formation would reopen 3 days later. Only the top 3 Qi condensation cultivators will be qualified to become disciples of the blood refining sect. As for the other 97 cultivators, they would stay in the Blood Mist Valley forever. Their flesh and blood would be absorbed by the blood spirit samsara formation to maintain the formation. In the past 3 days, the bloody light outside the Blood Mist Valley had become dense. It was obvious that it had been activated. On a mountain about a mile away from the Blood Mist Valley, there were many figures moving about, observing the scene in the Blood Mist Valley from afar. At the entrance of the Blood Mist Valley, there was a black light screen the size of a tent. Inside the light screen, 2 naked bodies were rolling around each other. The sound of waves hitting the reef was rhythmic. After more than a quarter of an hour, accompanied by high-pitched screams, everything returned to silence. Then there was the sound of clothes being put on came from a young man and a young woman. The man was about 30 years old. He had an ordinary appearance, and his movements were unhurried. His eyes emitted a shrewd luster. The other woman was about 20 years old. Her body was plump, and her skin was white and tender. Her charming face was faintly flushed, making her look extremely attractive. The woman's eyes were filled with disappointment. She lightly opened her red lips and complained, I didn't expect senior brother to be so powerful. You can actually maintain your primordial yang without leaking. Junior sister doesn't get nourished. My heart always feels empty. The man glanced at the woman and lazily said, Hussy, don't think I don't know that you secretly exchanged for a remnant of the shadow devil art a while ago. You want to try it out on me? The woman's expression froze. She charmingly smiled and said, Senior brother, how can you think that? It's not the first time we've been together. Am I that kind of person? The man didn't pay attention to the woman's words. He chuckled and said, Junior sister, with your early foundation establishment cultivation and my preparations, your remnant shadow devil art won't be able to succeed. After all, your senior brother is only one step away from the late foundation establishment stage. Hearing this, the woman's expression suddenly turned cold and she remained silent. The man glanced at her and chuckled. Junior sister, don't you think that you completed the last mission too easily? The woman's expression suddenly changed when she heard this. Her eyes were filled with disbelief. Senior brother, could it be that during that mission, that's right, it was I who secretly helped you. Moreover, I was the one who put the description of a shadow devil art on that rogue cultivator's body. The woman firmly bit her lips. At this time, she actually calmed down. So, it was you who arranged for me to exchange for a remnant of the shadow devil art. The man slowly stood up and indifferently said, That's right. You exchanged for a remnant of the shadow devil art, and I have another secret technique of the shadow devil art. As long as you learn this secret technique, with my help, there's an 80 to 90% chance that your aptitude will increase. A trace of desire flashed through the woman's eyes. She then cautiously asked, Senior brother, how do you want junior sister to exchange? The man chuckled. No hurry. 3 days will be over soon. The chi condensation rogue cultivators inside should be mostly dead. Let's collect the blood spirit essence first. Chapter 638. After the disc was taken out, it caused the surrounding blood mist to fluctuate. Seeing this, the woman calmed herself down and walked to the man's side. Her early foundation establishment magic power surged, and she poured magic power into the disc with him. As the two poured their magic power, red dots gradually appeared on the disc. At first, there were only 1 or 2, but soon, the number of red dots multiplied and soon covered the entire valley. 70, 78, 90, 97. The man's divine sense swept over the disc. There were 97 red dots on the disc. I didn't think that the winner would be decided in less than half a day. Junior sister, you pour magic power into the disc. I'll cast the spell and condense the essence of the blood spirit. Okay, senior brother. The man released the disc and let it float in the air. His hands began to form some kind of mysterious spell, continuously pouring spiritual light into the disc. The red dots on the disc became brighter, and the blood mist at the entrance of the blood mist valley began to roll. The bloody brilliance became denser and denser. The rogue cultivators in the valley stretched their necks and watched as the luster of the barrier around the blood mist valley gradually dimmed and condensed at the entrance of the passage. Suddenly, there was a lot of discussion. Isn't it supposed to be 3 days? Why is it opening now? What do you know? As long as there are 3 cultivators left, the Foundation Establishment Seniors of the Blood Refining Sect will cast the spell and open the Blood Mist Valley's restriction. So you're saying that of the 100 late-stage chi condensation cultivators who went in, only 3 are left? A young man gasped, his face deathly pale. Boy, for rogue cultivators like us, the blood refining sect is not that easy to enter. Rogue cultivators don't have high aptitudes. Only through this method can they select disciples with strong battle awareness. Otherwise, how could the blood refining sect become the #1 sect in the state of Qi? I wonder which 3 rogue cultivators will survive to the end. Mabiao is definitely one of them. He has a zombie from the Death Scar that can rival a 12th layer Qi refining cultivator. That's not necessarily true. Ma Biao will definitely be besieged by the others. I think Lulu will survive to the end. He is proficient in the mortal world's top movement techniques and is very difficult to catch. Inside the passage, the man from the blood refining sect had already reached the final step of his spell casting. However, at this moment, the number of red dots on the spell plate suddenly increased. In an instant, there were 2 more red dots, and now there were 99. The man's expression changed slightly upon sensing this, but he didn't slow down in the slightest as he sent a final beam of spirit light toward the formation plate. Boom! The entire blood mist valley trembled. All of the red dots on the disc gathered in the middle, and the blood mist in the tunnel surged towards the disc. Feeling the rich energy rushing towards them, the man and woman from the blood refining sect began to sweat, especially the woman, who was only at the early stage of the Foundation establishment realm. Her white and slender legs were trembling slightly, as if she was about to kneel down at any moment. At this moment, a dark red liquid gradually appeared in the center of the formation plate and gradually solidified. After about half an hour, it turned into a fist-sized dark red ball. The blood color in the passageway completely dimmed. At this moment, the pale-faced woman's legs trembled and she knelt on the ground, gasping for breath. The other man was also not in a good condition. He was sweating profusely and his magic power was unstable. He had a strange expression as he said, "I didn't expect this new disciple to be so strong and ruthless." In the end, he even killed the other 2 rogue cultivators. The woman's expression was ugly as she said, "If he didn't kill the other 2 while we were casting the spell, we wouldn't be in such a sorry state. We almost failed to cast the spell." The man waved his hand and said, "Forget it. Let's go pick up this disciple and report back." Although he suffered a loss, the quality of the blood spirit essence this time is very high. We can exchange it for more contribution points. The woman looked at the gloomy ball on the disc, and her expression eased a lot. The blood spirit essence was a special material unique to the blood refining sect. It was the main material for a certain spirit pill in the sect. It could only be condensed by absorbing the flesh and blood of more than 90 chi condensation cultivators through the blood spirit samsara formation. However, the use of the blood spirit essence was extremely secretive in the blood refining sect. Most of the blood refining sect's foundation establishment cultivators didn't know. The man took out a brocade box made of white jade and carefully put the blood spirit essence into it. He put it in his storage bag and then led the woman into the depths of the passage. Soon, the 2 of them arrived in front of a pale red light screen. The man shot out a spirit light, and the light screen gradually dissipated, revealing a majestic figure behind it. It was a tall man. His black clothes were tattered and stained with blood. The holes in his clothes revealed his solid muscles. This tall man had a fierce-looking face, and from his left eyebrow to his right chin, there was a scar, which made him look repulsive. The tall man saw the light screen disappear and saw the man and woman behind it. His eyes were filled with ecstasy as he laughed and said, "Seniors, your magic power is superb. You sensed it so quickly." As he spoke, 4 bulging storage bags appeared in the tall man's hand, and he threw them to the blood refining sect's foundation establishment cultivators. The middle stage foundation establishment cultivator calmly took the storage bags and scanned the items inside with his divine sense. He said, "Since you passed the Blood Mist Valley trial, you're now a disciple of the blood refining sect. You can call me Marshal Uncle Fong. What is your name?" The tall man strode forward and said, "Marshal Uncle Fong. Marshal Nephew is Zhang Yang. How should I address this big sister?" Zhang Yang's ferocious face and smile as he said the word "big sister" made people feel a sense of disharmony. It felt like the big sister he spoke of was even more ferocious than him. However, the woman didn't get angry. She put away the storage bags in her hand and said with a charming smile, "Marshal Nephew Zhang really knows how to conduct himself. Big sister's surname is Bai." Although the woman's surname Bai was somewhat dissatisfied with Lu Kuan before, the storage bags she just received contained a lot of spirit stones. She had long forgotten about her displeasure. Zhang Yiyang wanted to continue speaking, but he was interrupted by the Foundation establishment cultivator surnamed Fong. He said, "Okay, follow us. We are now returning to the sect." After he finished speaking, he took the lead and walked out. The man surnamed Fong used his divine sense to sense Zhang Yiyang's great circle of qi refining stage fire, a tribute magic power. He felt quite satisfied. This guy is quite sensible. There are so many spirit stones in the 4 storage bags. It is most likely the wealth of the people who died in the valley. The people who came out before didn't give much. After all, in the first month after entering the sect, you can use spirit stones to exchange for contribution points. Rogue cultivators don't have good aptitudes. Naturally, they have to exchange spirit stones for Foundation establishment pills. This Zhang Yang was able to stand out and even kill the other 2 cultivators who also survived. Needless to say, his battle prowess is at the top of the qi refining stage. Although he seems careless, he knows how to conduct himself. If he can reach the Foundation establishment stage, there is no harm in making friends with him. The rogue cultivators who enter the sect from the Blood Mist Valley are all quite powerful after reaching the Foundation establishment stage. The man surnamed Fong and the others quickly walked out of the valley. They spoke to the qi refining disciples standing guard outside and summoned an airship. Carrying the woman surnamed Bai and Zhang Yiyang, they picked a direction and shot off. Huh, am I seeing things? Aside from the seniors from the blood refining sect, there's only one person. It really is one person. Where did he come from? He actually stood out from 100 rogue cultivators and even killed the other 2. The trial in the Blood Mist Valley is over. The next one will probably be in a few years. If I can reach the late qi refining stage, maybe I can go in and try. Forget it, Wang Ergu. You're only in the 8th layer of qi refining. You are far from the 10th. This is the number 1 devil sect in the state of qi. What's the big deal about taking a risk? Chapter 639. Zhang Yiyang stood on top of the airship and looked down at the scenery below. His eyes were filled with excitement. He was just like a rogue cultivator who was about to enter the number 1 devil sect in the state of qi. Zhang Yiyang appeared to be excited, but his heart was very calm. This blood refining sect is indeed not simple. Just the restriction of the Blood Mist Valley alone gives me an unfathomable feeling. The flesh and blood of the other 99 rogue cultivators were directly absorbed by the Great Formation without the protection of magical power. I'm afraid this blood spirit samsara ray is a forbidden array that collects the blood essence of cultivators. However, the blood refining sect has put on a gimmick of a trial. The Devil Dao Great Sect is indeed powerful. They even have qi refinement stage rogue cultivators scrambling to deliver their blood essence. I wonder what they're doing with the blood essence. Zhang Yiyang's mind was filled with various thoughts. My goal this time is to obtain the Blood Demon Art. I won't pay attention to anything else. After obtaining the Blood Demon Art, I'll leave immediately. Zhang Yiyang was naturally Lu Kuan. He had changed his appearance and body to that of a rogue cultivator. After passing the Blood Mist Valley trial, he was about to enter the blood refining sect. With his attainments in body refinement, adjusting the muscles on his face was very simple. As for that scar, he had cut himself. As long as he controlled his magic power and did not let it heal, the scar would not heal, and it would appear incomparably real. After entering the state of qi, Lu Kuan did not communicate with Mohan. Instead, he directly inquired about the method to enter the blood refining sect. As the core cultivation method of the blood refining sect, the blood demon art needed to be cultivated from the Foundation establishment stage. Only the strongest Foundation establishment stage disciples could obtain the blood demon art. These Foundation establishment stage disciples could only be at the early Foundation establishment stage. If a Foundation establishment stage disciple obtained the blood demon art, they would have to lower their cultivation to the early Foundation establishment stage. Therefore, Lu Kuan needed to enter the sect with a qi condensation stage cultivation. The only way to meet his requirements was the Blood Mist Valley trial. After entering the blood refining sect, he would find a way to exchange for a foundation establishment pill and lower his cultivation to the early foundation establishment stage. With his experience in casting spells at the core formation stage and Rellingan's help, Lu Kuan was able to flexibly use most of the lightning-type spells, even if he only used the mana of the early foundation establishment stage. His abilities were far superior to those of the same stage. Back then, Lu Kuan's Rellingan spirit root had a hidden danger of disappearing. However, as his cultivation level increased, the time it took for his spirit root to disappear became shorter and shorter. After entering the bone tempering stage, which was the early stage of the foundation establishment stage, the appearance of the spirit root changed from once every 5 days to once every 4 days. Later on, from the middle stage to the late stage of the foundation establishment stage, the interval between each spirit root would gradually become 3 or 2 days. After Lu Kuan entered the bone treasure stage, the spirit root appeared for 2 days and disappeared for 1 day. Such a strange situation made Lu Kuan somewhat puzzled. However, his bones were engraved with a spirit-controlling formation, so the disappearance of his spirit root did not affect him much. Now that he had entered the blood-refining sect, the Rellingan spirit root was actually useful. When he entered the sect to test his spirit root, the Rellingan spirit root gave him a good explanation for his tyrannical fighting strength. As for why the Rellingan spirit root was reduced to a rogue cultivator, Lu Kuan already had an explanation. Lu Kuan, no, he should now be called Zhang Yang, looked at the 2 foundation establishment stage cultivators on the flying boat. His mind was clear. The storage pouches he had given to the 2 of them contained the wealth of most of the cultivators in the Blood Mist Valley. He did not care about such a small amount of spirit stones, but it was enough to befriend the 2 in front of him and learn about the situation of the blood refining sect as soon as possible. On the way here, he had already learned a lot of information. The man controlling the flying boat was called Fang Zheng. His cultivation level was at the peak of the middle stage of the foundation establishment stage. He was the great-grandson of a core formation stage cultivator of the blood refining sect. Otherwise, he would not have easily obtained such a lucrative job in the Blood Mist Valley. Fang Zheng had relied on the protection of his family to smoothly enter the blood refining sect. There were dozens of such families in the blood refining sect. It was also because of these families that the blood refining sect constantly sent low-level disciples that the sect was able to become the powerful sect it was today. As for the woman beside him, she was called by Jie. As her name suggested, she had fair skin and a beautiful appearance. Her cultivation level was at the early stage of the foundation establishment stage. But what surprised Lu Kuan was that this woman was the same as him, a rogue cultivator who had entered the blood refining sect through the Blood Mist Valley. He had just participated in the Blood Mist Valley trial, so he naturally knew how cruel it was. If he had been at the foundation establishment stage back then, it would have been difficult for him to stand out. Moreover, this delicate woman in front of him was not simple to be able to kill her way out of the encirclement. Up ahead is the Blood Devil mountain range. This entire mountain range is where the blood refining sect is located. Any unfamiliar cultivator who enters will be killed by the martial uncle stationed there. Just as Lu Kuan's imagination was running wild, Fang Zheng spoke up. Lu Kuan looked forward and his eyes flashed with a trace of shock. In front of him was a boundless black mountain range. Above the mountain range, black and white fog lingered. The roars of various wild beasts could be heard from the depths of the mountain range. From where Lu Kuan was standing, he could see many cultivators flying above the mountain range. Most of them were at the foundation establishment stage. Fang Zheng led Lu Kuan as they flew through one mountain range after another. Above each mountain range, there were all kinds of restrictions. There were also disciples of the blood refining sect guarding them. Fang Zheng also needed to provide a token unique to the blood refining sect in order to pass through. Although there were no restrictive formations on these mountain ranges, when Lu Kuan passed through each mountain range, he could feel a divine sense of a middle or late-stage core formation cultivator sweeping past them. Clearly, there were core formation stage demonic cultivators guarding these mountain ranges. Moreover, as Lu Kuan went deeper, he discovered that in addition to spiritual qi, there was also a sparse amount of demonic qi. After passing through several mountain ranges, what entered Lu Kuan's eyes was a huge black light curtain. It enveloped the mountain range for dozens of miles. This is the core of the sect. It includes the scripture cave, the elixir room, the artifact refining cave, the mission hall, and so on. All the cultivators in the sect will come here to accept sect missions and exchange them for various cultivation resources. This is also the place with the strongest defense in the Blood Devil mountain range. Not only can the restriction array defend against attacks from late nascent soul stage cultivators, there are also many nascent soul stage elders guarding it. Fang Zheng explained to Lu Kuan as he led him to the entrance of the restriction array. Of course, this is only the core area of the sect. All the cultivators' cave residences are not here. They are all scattered in the Blood Devil mountain range. The closer to the depths of the mountain range, the denser the demonic qi. Fang Zheng controlled the flying boat and led Lu Kuan and Bai Jie into the entrance of the restriction array. Then, an unfathomable divine sense swept past them. When Lu Kuan felt this divine sense, his face revealed a look of horror. His tall body trembled slightly, as if he couldn't withstand the pressure of the powerful divine sense. Grandmaster, I'm here to bring the Blood Mist Valley's itinerant cultivators into the sect. Fang Zheng felt this divine sense and hurriedly said respectfully. After the divine sense circled Lu Kuan a few times, it withdrew without any response. Fang Zheng wasn't surprised at all. He bowed again and continued flying forward. Soon, they passed through the restriction array. Then, he gave a few instructions to Bai Jie, who understood and left. As for Fang Zheng, he carried Lu Kuan to a flat peak not far away. Lu Kuan heaved a sigh of relief. The divine sense from before was definitely at the nascent soul stage. Fortunately, it didn't see through him. After all, he didn't have a golden core in his body. Even the dermic powers in his muscles were controlled by him at the level of qi refinement. Chapter 640. This is the entrance mountain where disciples report to the sect. Now is not the time for normal disciples to enter the sect, so there aren't many people here. However, there is a core formation martial uncle overseeing the sect. He will arrange for you to enter the sect, ask about your origins, and guide you to swear an oath to the sect's oath stone. Fang Zheng's flying boat slowly landed in front of a sparsely populated hall on the mountain as he spoke to Lu Kuan. Once it's over, you will be given the blood-refining sect's disciple medallion. Right, since you gave me 2 bags of spirit stones, I'll tell you something. Every new disciple has a chance to exchange spirit stones for contribution points. Fang Zheng said meaningfully, remember, everyone only has one chance. In the future, contribution points can only be obtained through sect missions. With that said, Fang Zheng ignored the look of pleasant surprise on Lu Kuan's face and walked straight into the hall made of glazed tiles. So, it's Martial Uncle Fang Zheng. Martial Uncle, are you bringing a rogue cultivator into the sect this time? At the entrance of the hall, a wretched-looking middle-aged man suddenly appeared with a fawning expression. Fang Zheng said indifferently, that's right. The wretched-looking middle-aged man hurriedly said, Rong Shizu just finished cultivating. I'll bring Martial Uncle over. Fang Zheng nodded and called out to Lu Kuan, who was looking around, to the depths of the hall. After passing through several complicated restrictions, they arrived at the deepest secret room. An old voice came from inside. Martial nephew Fang Zheng, why did you only bring a rogue cultivator into the sect for this Blood Mist Valley trial? Fang Zheng didn't dare to be negligent and hurriedly replied, Martial Uncle Rong, this time the Blood Mist Valley trial was quite tragic. In the end, only Zhang Yang survived. The other rogue cultivators all died. When the wretched-looking man heard this, his eyes were filled with shock. He looked at the tall Lu Kuan with reverence. He worked in the entrance hall all year round, so he naturally knew that every rogue cultivator who passed through the Blood Mist Valley trial was very powerful. But he didn't expect that the person in front of him was even more powerful. He had killed all the competitors and was definitely a killing god. The wretched-looking man immediately placed Lu Kuan in the list of people who couldn't be provoked. Hearing this, the old man in the secret chamber exclaimed softly. Then, an obscure divine sense rushed towards Lu Kuan's body. Lu Kuan felt the divine sense of the middle core formation stage, but his heart was not flustered at all. Then, he felt a rather mysterious magic fluctuation in his body, as if it was trying to investigate something. After casting the spell, the divine sense left Lu Kuan's body and circled around Fang Zheng's waist. I see. Leave this child to me. Fang Zheng, I've marked your token. Go and submit the mission. The aged voice sounded excited. When Fang Zheng heard that, he bowed at the chamber and turned to leave. However, before he left, he took a deep look at Lu Kuan. The old voice said again, Zhang Yang, right? Come in. Lu Kuan's mind shook and a trace of excitement appeared in his eyes. He walked in with large strides, and the restrictions outside the secret chamber automatically closed. After entering the secret chamber, what entered Lu Kuan's eyes was a huge room that was hundreds of feet long and wide. On the side of the room were layers of metal shelves. Inside the shelves were various tokens, clothes, and scattered magic tools. In the center of the secret chamber was a young man who looked to be in his 20s. His face was incomparably handsome, and his hair was jet black. It was impossible to imagine that the old voice from before had come from him. Furthermore, this core formation cultivator, surnamed Rong, had black eyes with vertical pupils. When one looked at him, they couldn't help but be drawn in. Lu Kuan was unable to escape this fate. When he saw the man's face, his eyes began to glaze over. The corners of the young man's mouth curled up, and he opened his mouth. The old voice came from his mouth. You can call me Rong Shizu. What is your name? Lu Kuan's eyes were lifeless. He blankly said, Junior is Zhang Yang. Rong Shizu asked, How old are you this year? How long have you been cultivating? Lu Kuan blankly said, Junior is 18 this year. I have been cultivating for 10 years. Rong Shizu looked at Lu Kuan's fierce face and tall body. No matter how he looked at it, he looked like a middle-aged man in his 40s. The corner of his mouth couldn't help but twitch. If he wasn't extremely confident in his secret technique, he might have suspected that Lu Kuan was lying. Rong Shizu coughed lightly and asked again, what is your spiritual root? How did you become a loose cultivator? Lu Kuan said, Junior is Relingen. My father is a direct descendant of the Zhang clan in the Chu Kingdom's northern Baron province. Decades ago, when two of the clan's mid-foundation establishment elders were killed by the righteous devil, the clan fell apart. I was always taken care of by my mortal mother. When I was 8 years old, my father found my mother and discovered my Relingen talent. Unfortunately, he was pursued by his enemies at the time. He took me to the kingdom of Qi and barely escaped. My mother was killed on the way. My father later died 3 years after we arrived at the kingdom of Qi because of his injuries. After that, I relied on the resources left behind by my father and Relingen talent to cultivate to my current level. Rong Shizu listened to Lu Kuan's story while recording it in a jade slip. When Lu Kuan was outside, he had used his spiritual sense to investigate him. He knew that this person had Relingen talent, so it was understandable that he was able to stand out in the Blood Mist Valley. After all, Rellingen's talent and magic played a huge role in the battles of the Qi condensation realm. Even in a large sect like the Blood Refining sect, Rellingen's talent was rarely seen. After entering the Foundation establishment stage, he would definitely be valued by the sect. Perhaps he would be accepted as a disciple by some old man. In the Blood Refining sect, There were some unique divine abilities that could only be cultivated by those with thunder spirit roots. Therefore, Rong Shizu had to be cautious. He didn't feel at ease even after asking about the origin, so he recorded it in a jade slip. He planned to arrange for people to investigate whether this clan really existed. Putting away the jade slip, Rong Shizu continued to ask, "Why did you come to my blood-refining sect?" Hearing this, Lu Kuan's originally sluggish eyes blossomed with a trace of excitement. His tone also became high-spirited. Of course, it's to cultivate a more powerful cultivation method. The previous Zhang clan elder was easily killed by the Justice Devil because his cultivation method was mediocre. I, Zhang Yang, must cultivate a top cultivation method like the Blood Devil art. Anyone who obstructs me must die. At the end of his speech, Zhang Yang's body emitted a trace of killing intent, which made Rong Shizu raise his eyebrows. He was quite satisfied. It seems that this kid killed a lot of cultivators of the same level in the Blood Mist Valley, so his body emitted a bit of killing intent. With such talent, as long as there is no problem with his origin, my blood-refining sect will have a powerful foundation establishment disciple in the future. He might even reach core formation. The vertical pupils in Rong Shizu's eyes gradually dissipated. Lu Kuan's sluggish expression also recovered, and his eyes flashed with shock. Rong Shizu wasn't surprised at all. Every disciple who entered the sect would have such an expression when they found that they couldn't help but speak the truth. He waved his hand, and several items flew over from the metal shelf next to him. A storage pouch, a high-grade flying magic tool, a high-grade long saber magic tool, and a set of dust-proof clothes. Keep them well. Lu Kuan caught them and skillfully stuffed them into the storage pouch, hanging it on his waist. Rong Shizu glanced at Lu Kuan's waist. There were at least 6 or 7 storage pouches, but he didn't care too much. He lightly said, "Follow me." Chapter 641. After descending for about 1,000 feet, Lu Kuan landed in front of a dark red boulder that was 20 feet tall. A strange blood aura emanated from the boulder. It was the Oath Stone. This stone itself was a top-notch material. After being refined with a special method, it became the Oath Stone. Below the boulder were black rocks with traces of human excavation. Clearly, this huge cave was excavated by the blood-refining sect. Suddenly, Lu Kuan's nerves couldn't help but tremble. His heart trembled. This feeling was clearly caused by a cultivator far beyond his realm using their divine sense. This cave, where the Oath Stone was placed, was actually overseen by a nascent soul cultivator. Rong Shizu didn't seem to notice and proudly said, "This is our sect's Oath Stone. It has been in use since the founding of the blood-refining sect. After being blessed by our sect's great elders, it can now form 3 bloodline oaths. Even if a cultivator has reached the spirit-severing stage, they still can't violate it. Next, I will teach you a simple spell. Just do as I say." Lu Kuan respectfully said, "Yes, Rong Shizu." Just as Rong Shizu was about to teach Lu Kuan the incantation, a red suddenly lit up on the Oath Stone. The 2 words "My Fei" faintly appeared on it. Violating the sect's oath die. A fierce and sharp female voice suddenly echoed in this cave. Then a black spirit light shot out from the ground and hit the Oath Stone, shattering the red dot on the word "Ma Fei." It turned into a gray smoke and dissipated in the air. Seeing this, Rong Shizu hurriedly bowed to the void and said, "Greetings, Marshal Antlo." The female voice then resounded in the cave. "Marshal Nephew Rong, after dealing with this little guy, arrange for people to investigate this Ma Fei. See if our sect has suffered any losses, then report back to me." Rong Shizu said in a deep voice, "Understood." Then, the nascent soul stage divine sense fell silent. From beginning to end, it completely ignored Lu Kuan, who was only at the peak of the Qi refining stage. Lu Kuan felt a little apprehensive. He had just arrived at the blood-refining sect, but he had already encountered many core formation realm spiritual consciousnesses and even a nascent soul realm cultivator. The blood refining sect was truly unfathomable with so many high-level cultivators. All right, Zhang Yang, quickly cast the spell according to my chant. Next, Ancestral Master Rome recited a simple spell and the oath that Lu Kuan had to recite. This spell was extremely simple. Even a disciple in the middle stage of Qi refining would be able to cast it. Lu Kuan first cast a giant strength spell on himself. He punched his chest and spat out a mouthful of blood. The blood was condensed in front of him by telekinesis. All the blood essence in his body was condensed into his bones. The blood flowing in his veins was no longer vigorous. The blood he forced out was only a little more vigorous compared to that of an ordinary cultivator. Rong Shizu obviously didn't notice the abnormality in Lu Kuan's blood. His expression was somewhat serious. Obviously, he was still thinking about the matter of Ma Fei. This oath spell should be using the oath stone as a medium to gather everyone's blood and form a bloodline oath, achieving the effect of the cultivation aristocratic clan's oath restriction. Lu Kuan recalled the scene from a moment ago, and a trace of understanding flashed through his heart. This kind of restriction didn't seem to activate immediately. Instead, it would first send feedback to the oath stone. Then, the cultivator in charge would have to cast the spell to activate the power of the restriction and kill that person. The gap between the activation of the restriction was the opportunity for Lu Kuan to use his spiritual sense, concealment, divine sense to hide. Or when he violated the oath, he would use his spiritual sense, concealment, divine sense, to prevent the restriction from transmitting to the oath stone. It's a pity that I have this core formation stage cultivator by my side. Otherwise, I don't know if the oath would succeed after I concealed all of my spiritual sense. After Lu Kuan entered the state of Qi, he had concealed most of his spiritual sense. He only revealed his great circle of Qi refining stage cultivation outside of his knowledge sea. This was the only reason he was able to deceive the high-level cultivators of the blood refining sect. With this thought in mind, Lu Kuan's hands didn't slow down. He formed a hand seal and muttered at the same time. I, Zhang Yang, officially joined the blood refining sect. I swear 3 oaths. First, I will never betray the blood refining sect. Second, I will never spread the blood refining sect's cultivation methods. Third, I will never kill a fellow sect member. If I violate any of these, my spiritual sense will dissipate. After he finished casting the spell, the oath stone in front of him shone with a bloody light. Then, it absorbed Lu Kuan's blood and turned it into a blood dot. The 3 words, Zhang Yang, were faintly discernible. Then, Lu Kuan felt an inexplicable restriction appear on his spiritual sense outside of his knowledge sea. The power of the restriction caused Lu Kuan's pupils to shrink slightly. He felt that the power of the restriction was countless times stronger than an ordinary spiritual oath. However, the divine ability of concealing his spiritual roots was really strange. This restriction seemed to only affect a small part of his spiritual sense. It didn't discover the other parts in the depths of his knowledge sea. Lu Kuan heaved a sigh of relief. It seemed that even if the oath stone exerted the power of the restriction, it wouldn't have much effect on his spiritual sense, which was at the peak of the intermediate core formation stage. When Rong Shizu saw that Lu Kuan had completed the spell, a purple-black token suddenly appeared in his hand. He suspended it in front of the oath stone. Then, he muttered an incantation and formed a complicated hand seal. Lu Kuan vaguely heard the 3 words, Zhang Yang. Soon, a red dot floated out of the oath stone and entered the token. Rong Shizu moved the token in front of Lu Kuan and said, Zhang Yang, this is your blood refining sect token. Only you can refine it. It contains the basic information of the blood refining sect. Go back and study it yourself. Seeing Lu Kuan put away the token, Rong Shizu's body shone brightly. He took Lu Kuan and flew into the sky, leaving the oath stone cave. After going up, Rong Shizu sent Lu Kuan out. When Lu Kuan left the secret room, he was slightly surprised. He didn't know when, but several Foundation establishment stage cultivators had appeared outside the secret room. Each of them had a dignified expression. "You guys come in?" "Yes, master." It turned out that these Foundation establishment stage cultivators were Rong Shizu's disciples. He didn't know how they had been called over by Rong Shizu. Lu Kuan had a vague idea of what these people wanted to do. One of them should be to investigate the disciple named Ma Fei. The other mission was very likely to be to investigate his background. After all, it was a bit strange for a Rellingan cultivator who had reached the great circle of Qi refining to join the sect. With such talent, he would be abducted as soon as he entered the immortal cultivation stage. Although Lu Kuan had made a sect oath, Rong Shizu had to investigate thoroughly, just in case. Lu Kuan was quite confident in his background. The so-called Zhang clan of the northern desolate state was taken care of by Huang, Xiaoyan, and Panyan. The direct descendant was also secretly killed by Huang Xiaoyan. Lu Kuan was pretending to be the fake son of this direct descendant disciple. As for whether there were any surviving disciples of the Zhang clan, it was difficult to find out after so many years. After all, this was a very small clan. Even if the blood-refining sect found out, Lu Kuan could name this direct descendant disciple and produce some evidence. As these thoughts flashed through his mind, Lu Kuan took the token in his hand and poured his magic power into it to refine it as he walked out. "Senior apprentice Brother Zhang, please wait." Lu Kuan had only taken a few steps when he heard a rather flattering voice. He turned around and saw that it was the very wretched-looking, middle-aged man who had been guarding the door. Lu Kuan glared at him and said fiercely, "What's the matter?" When the middle-aged man saw Lu Kuan's ferocious face, his body suddenly trembled. He swallowed a mouthful of saliva and laughed dryly. "Senior apprentice Brother Zhang, don't be angry. I just want to introduce the sect to you." Lu Kuan narrowed his eyes and said with a trace of coldness, "What? You want to earn spirit stones from me? You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.